Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. But with a special guest here, the man, the myth, legend. What's going on, Grandpa?
Do the full introduction.
The full introduction.
Not some halfway introduction.
Grumpy old man's name because he's always the same. Okay.
Do it right. Start over and do it right. Do it right.
They say there's no shame in his game because it's always the same. There you go, Grumpy. You say, that's me.
That's me.
There you go. Thank you. As consistent as always. And again, today we got the man, the myth, the legend, Coach Tommy Baffi here joining us today. Repping the Drive for 5 merchandise as well. I like it. What are you eating?
Had to do it.
What are you eating?
I'm eating my dinner. Okay. Here's the thing. I'm still in recovery mode from Sunday night, having to do a podcast till 4 o'clock in the morning. My clock is a little bit off.
Okay. I like it. You're mixing things up.
The warden said that she cooked me some food today. So I said, okay, what was I going to say? No. So instead of eating after the podcast, or maybe I get an upset stomach overnight, no, I don't have to worry about that. So you get a little bit older, you got to worry about things like that. But so what I'm doing is I'm going to eat now. And then after this, I'm going to get some steps in to, get everything moving.
To burn all the calories off. Yeah, I know you have never been a man to turn down a free meal, grumpy old man.
That's very true.
That being said, trade deadline went off. Obviously, big trade there, headlining. Trade deadline there, wrapping it up. Detroit Red Wings there, trade Mantha to the Washington Capitals. And, the Washington Capitals separated themselves with quite some draft capital as well as Jacob Vrana. So, trade deadline there. I wouldn't call it like crazy, but, it definitely did have some big moves there on it.
Yeah, I think that was the last trade that they had after we went off the air. I believe we broke the Taylor Hall trade, Islanders universe. But, I tell you, as everyone likes to know, I like to bag on the Islanders a little bit, just a little bit. But I'll tell you what, to be honest with you, if they do, I always call it like I see it. If they do something good or people being critical on them when I don't think they should be, I call that out too. So I just want to say I'm not all that disappointed that we did not get Taylor Hall. His first game last night with Boston was the same thing that you see. He's not defensively responsible. Not that was, I thought was going to be an issue with us as well. If you're not willing to subjugate your game, you're not going to be a fit here. And I won't say he shot his way out of Buffalo, but he did have that no trade. And he did want to go to Boston, and he let them know. So I think when he did his first interview post-trade, he did kind of intimate that he turned down a couple other trade requests. And they said the 2 finalists were the Caps and the Islanders. I don't know what we were going to give up, probably, 3, 4, 5 first-round picks, but he went for a second. Boston instead.
Oh, Tommy, weigh in. What do you think there about that trade? I know what do you think there? Happy we didn't acquire Taylor Hall?
No, I'm not. I was someone who believed Taylor Hall would fit here. Now, I'm obviously very happy with the trade that the Islanders did make, the big one, and of course the little small trade that we added in at the end of the night on Sunday. I thought that Taylor Hall would have fit with Barzal and Eberle, personally. I don't think he would have been a problem. I think Hall does want to win. So I think when he got here in the short term, I think he falls in the line, does what Trotz wants, plays with Barzal and Eberle, and probably scores a lot of easy goals thanks to Barzal. That's my personal opinion on Hall. I think he would have fit. And the Islanders did go after him. So obviously that tells you that they believed he would have fit, right? If they went after him. And I could tell you what I was told they offered, if that's all right. I was told it was a second-round pick and Bellows was what we offered up for Hall. So it's pretty similar to what Boston offered up, right? And in the end, from what I'm told, is that the Devils trade that we had made, we had not offered a first. We had offered a second and all that junk that we threw in. And when they threw in Zajac, we upped it to a first, and that's what sealed that trade. I heard we were ahead of Boston initially, but we may have even used that whole trade to get Palmieri and Zajac together. I think that's a fair assessment.
I like that, Tommy. Now I'm going to ask you a question. You said your name is Coach Tommy Baffi.
Hold on, before we jump in too much, Grandpa, we got to read the ad. I'm sorry, Grandpa.
1 second. Okay, Coach. Now, is that your first name or just like a moniker? Is your middle name Tommy, your first name Coach, or is there, how's that working?
I think if my parents had named me Coach, they would have been a lot of questions for my parents' sanity. So no, my first name is Tommy. I was given the name Coach honestly when I was in my early 20s because I've been very athletic all my life, and then I actually had started up a local team when I was 20, and just stuck. I was actually playing and coaching at the same time. That was my own personal team. I did it for about 14 years. Back injury kind of made me have to quit doing that, and then I was just doing a little bit of coaching after that. But everybody just started calling me Coach all around town. Even everybody in my family still called me my normal name, but it became a moniker to me, yes. And then, ironically, when we started the Drive for Five, and I started up with the game threads and stuff like that, and doing recaps. It was Michael Alexi from Germany who came up and just said, "We should call you Coach." And I just thought that was kind of ironic, and that's how we got the Coach Baffi's Corner and started the show and everything up on the Drive for Five.
Very good. See, TJ, I like to give a little human interest stories. I'm not like you, right to the advertisement, right to the money aspect of this podcast. No. I want to give a little bit of, I want some background whenever we have people on this podcast.
For certain. I know they just get very, very stringent. I don't know. I don't want to upset the corporate overlords.
That's it. Now you go be the company shill that you are. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dare Grump. That being said, today's podcast is sponsored by DraftKings. Again, basketball season won't be around forever, so get in on all the action now with DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. DraftKings is giving new players a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. To claim your free shot at $1 million in total prizes, use the code THPN during signup. And playing daily fantasy basketball is simple. You just pick your lineup, you stay under the salary cap, and you see how your team stacks up against the competition. You feel the sweat like never before. Every dunk, steal, assist means so much more with DraftKings daily fantasy lineup. Baseball fans also, right? And you missed out on last season long in fantasy, so now you got to make up for it here. And you also can do that there with the daily fantasy action where DraftKings is even more ways to make it rain. And with DraftKings, payday comes every day for players. So what are you waiting for? Head to the app now and download the DraftKings app. Use the code THPN during signup. This week, DraftKings is putting you in the action with free shots at $1 million in prizes. And again, that's code THPN for a free shot and millions of dollars in total prizes at DraftKings.com. A minimum of $5 deposits required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Oh, I only butchered it a little bit there, Grump.
I was actually going to compliment you on getting all the way through, but as usual, you did not disappoint, and you screwed up twice at the end.
What can I say? Grump.
Hey, you know what? You do the best you can. That's all I can say.
You sold me, TJ. I was signing up while you were doing the commercial, just so you know. So you did a good job there.
You have a face for radio. I have to say that.
That's Tommy or me, Grump.
It doesn't matter. Both of us.
I like it. I like it, grumpy old man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I disagree with you a little bit. You talk about how you're happy we didn't go ahead and acquire Taylor Hall. You say
no. I know a lot of people were ripping the Islanders for not going the extra mile to get him, and I wanted to stick up for them. That's all. Because I always stick up for the Islanders. Always.
What is going on here?
I call them as I see them. You know that. I don't think they should be getting ripped because they didn't pick up Taylor Hall. That's all.
I do want to also follow back up on another item. You said here that, the trade, you couldn't really give it a final grade when we acquired Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac. You wanted to see what other players were valued at, what trades went for. Now that the trade deadline has come and passed, where do you put the finalized grade of the Islanders acquiring Palmieri and Zajac?
I'm still going to say they overpaid. I'll give it a B. But what? It's an overpayment. Everybody else is getting second-round draft picks, and we're giving up first.
I just want to make sure. So we went immediately as the trade broke, F-. 30 minutes later, it turns to a B. Then next podcast, you completely go off the board and you say you don't have a grade. It's incomplete, and now you give it a B again.
Because you're pressing me. You're pressing me for a grade. The whole thing is, let's see how it turns out. If they do nothing and we get knocked out in the first round of playoffs, then it's an F. Then it's an F double. It's a Z. It's so bad because you're giving up first round picks for what you could have done anyway.
Tommy, I want to hear what your opinion is on it. I mean, did that address the needs that you felt the Islanders had most?
First off, I mean, I do think a B. There's nothing wrong with grading that as a B. There is a difference of opinion. The grade can change on many levels because you got to remember, if we do well in the playoffs, that's going to up the grade. If we get back to the conference finals, if we make a surprising run to the Stanley Cup finals, that ups the grade. What if Palmieri signs long term? Does that change the grade if we keep him?
Yep.
I think so. And I do think it was a fair trade when you add Zajac in, and we're getting a very serviceable third-line guy who can play center and wing. And I do want to add that I gave the Islanders an A for this trade deadline. I thought it was the best trade deadline we've had in a long, long time. We also acquired a need, in my opinion, in Braden Coburn. I think I've been yammering for a big physical defenseman. I mean, I'm an old-school guy with hockey. And I know that defensemen have gotten smaller and smaller. We don't clear out the front of the net very well. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. That's one of our weaknesses is we don't clear out that net. A guy like Braden Coburn, when we do use him, 6'5", 230, he's going to be clearing a lot of guys out in front of that net. He's a big, tough defenseman. And we're in the playoffs playing a team like the Capitals or a team like the Bruins. They're big and physical. I'm playing him. I'm playing him over Andy Green.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was an excellent move by us also.
Yeah.
I feel he will get some ice. At least I hope so. He should get some ice. I mean, it depends on what old Barry, wants to do. He is kind of what he is.
That's the thing. In an ideal situation, how much do you realistically see Braden Coburn actually scratching and starting the lineup?
Well, he's old, so that is a leg up right there. He's one of the older players, so
he's not older than Andy Green, though. So I mean, that could be problematic for him right there.
Maybe you sit down Noah Dobson. He's too young. I don't even know. Noah doesn't even shave yet. I mean, not much I know. He's still like they give him like, oh, come here, Noah, and they put like a little stuff and they give him like one of those fake plastic razors. There you go, practice your shaving.
Fake plastic razors. They give him the end of the toothbrush. And he shaves over there with like Dad, with the end of the toothbrush. Grump is what you're looking for, I think.
No, they used to have fake plastic razors when I was a kid. They used to sell to you, pretend like you'd be like your dad, and they put some stuff on there and you just shaved it off, but it wasn't sharp at all. They used to also use single blades. You know what a single blade is?
Yeah, I know what a single blade is, Grump.
Really? Because I'm looking at your face and I don't think you know what they are.
That is coming.
Grump. I'm familiar there with a single blade. I know. Too easy. Oh. This is one of the weird things when you got Grump with the guests. Now he feels like he's got a live audience right here with him. Now he's got to put on a show. Grumpy old man's got to put on a song and dance for everybody.
I'm empowered.
I'm glad to empower you, GOM.
Yeah.
Do you still feel like, and this is for both you guys, do you still feel like the Islanders are favorites to win the division? Or do you think that trade the Capitals made puts them a slight lead over the Islanders there to win the division, the East?
I think we should win division. I really do. And I'd much rather play Boston in the first round. Certainly rather than Pittsburgh. I'd rather have those two teams beat up on one another and then take them on the division championship.
Tommy, what's your opinion there on that?
I'll give you two things. I'll give you an opinion on that trade if you like, which I'm not saying. I actually thought the Capitals got fleeced. I really thought that they overpaid in that trade. And I was one happy Islander fan to see Verana get away from us. That guy kills us. So I was like, go ahead, go off to Detroit. And I said, I have respect for Mantha, nothing against it, but I was happy to see them give up two pretty good hockey players for one and then throw in all those draft picks. So I thought the Capitals just made a panic move to try and catch up with our trade. So I think that was something that Lou caused. I think Lou caused the Capitals to make that move. And as far as winning the division, I honestly think it's even for all three teams. I think the Penguins, Islanders, and Capitals all have a pretty equal chance to win this division. We might have a little bit of the roughest schedule compared to the other two teams if you really look at the schedule. So I think it's pretty close. I think we can end up anywhere between first and third, but I do think we have a fair chance to if Palmieri and Zajac really do start to get comfortable. Yeah, I like our chances 100%, but we have the toughest schedule of the three teams, in my opinion.
That's true.
Here's a trade breakdown as well. Let me go ahead and close that. Trade breakdown again. Jacob Vrana there. and Richard Panik, plus a first-round pick in 2021, a second-round pick in 2022, all for Mantha.
Too much.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot. And it was, I didn't even have to prompt Tommy to say how brilliant I was just a couple of weeks ago by pontificating on the fact that it was really wise to make those deals early instead of getting up to the trade deadline. Do you remember that, TJ? Remember when I said that?
I don't think anybody ever is like, hey, it's a good idea to wait. I mean, like the only time maybe you can get a late snag where you can wait and it's beneficial for you is when you got a situation like the Buffalo Sabres were this year. I mean, man, oh man, people were just bending them over the barrel. They did not do a good job, in my opinion, there of selling their assets.
No way. They did not. I thought Buffalo did a horrible job in what they got back in their returns for their players. 100%. If there were two teams I thought that did really well as far as teams that were selling and got returns, it was the Detroit Red Wings and Stevie Yzerman, who really did a great job, and Columbus. The Blue Jackets did a heck of a job, acquiring plenty of picks to rebuild with. I thought those two teams deserved A's for their rebuilds.
Yeah, without a doubt. You got to remember, think about the job Yzerman did when he was at Tampa, right? Same type of thing. And I don't think Detroit's not going to be great soon, but I think with Yzerman at the helm, they're going to be better than they should be sooner than we expect.
I don't know, Grump. I mean, you saw what he built there in Tampa. I think he could have that. I think he could have that organization turned around in 2 years. I really do.
I
think that's a little bullish, but I really do think that's a possibility. People forget. I mean, like I know Vrana's had his issues with the Capitals. I mean, he had it under Barry Trotz. I mean, he was healthy scratched at points at times this year, right?
Yeah, but he's an Islander killer. He always seemed to play well against us.
I'm just saying he's an extremely talented player. And also to acquire their first and additional second the year after, and Panik, I don't know. I think they turned out well in the trade, and I really think they can get that organization turned around quicker and sooner than you think too, Grump.
Okay, well, we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah.
It's true.
Now, it's interesting. Tommy, we were talking a little bit yesterday. We had a little bit of a chat there with myself and the grumpy old man. We had a little talk there beforehand. And, to kind of get to know each other a little bit there. So everything flows there smoothly on the podcast. We brought up a few topics and something I did not know and I wasn't familiar with because, again, I don't live in the area there of New York. But in the same token, Tommy had brought up something about John. I hate to rehash old issues. But speaking of the trade deadline and trade deadline failures, Tommy had a little bit of an inside story, I think, grumpy old man. I'm not sure if you heard it there yesterday. I did, and I was shocked.
Well, I heard dribs and drabs, but I just want to let everyone on the podcast know TJ is still a little bit butthurt when John Tavares left us to go to Toronto. I'll never forget it when he did. The language, the anger. He's still kind of not over it. So that's why he continues to bring it up.
You can push that narrative as much as you want. What I heard from Tommy proves my point 110%, and that's why I wanted him to bring it up. I'm happy you'll be able to hear it live with all of the listeners, grumpy old man. I'm happy about that. Remember, the biggest issue I had with the entire John Tavares nonsense is that we lost that asset for absolutely nothing. Tommy had a little bit of inside information there. That's all I'm going to say, Grumpy. And it might open your eyes a little bit, and maybe you're going to start seeing there through my colored glasses. That's all I'm going to say, Grump.
Okay. See, and for everyone who just listened to TJ rant, you can tell he's still a little bit butthurt over John Tavares. Thank you.
I had always thought he wanted to inflict whatever type of damage he could for the Islanders. I have always thought that. Again, you could see it there on the face. You could see it on his face there towards the end. It's like, man, not too much enthusiasm when he played. We had talked about it. Not a great leader. And he also said that he had his mind made up the entire time. Why did he do this to the Islanders? He has some insight, Grump.
Why don't we let Tommy tell this story?
Yeah. It's like story time. Myself and the grumpy old man. I'm just going to sit here with a shit-eating grin on my face as the grumpy old man just listens, and he's going to come more towards my opinion and our side here. That's all.
Okay, this is called Conspiracy Theory Hour with Tommy Baffi. Go, Tommy. Let's hear it. I'm interested.
Well, first off, I wanna make TJ feel a little bit better about the loss of his idol. Okay.
Oh, my idol. Oh,
Okay, the loss of your idol, and I say this to Islander fans all the time with all the hate towards Tavares. In a real honest sense, we should be thanking him, because if he had signed and not left, we still would have had Gosno, we still would have had Doug Waite, we would not have had Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz and that coaching staff running this team, and we'd be missing playoffs. Telling you all that right now. We had a bad captain, we had a bad leader, and he was gutless. And I'm not afraid to say it on here. I'll be nasty about it. I agreed back when we drafted him. You know, I was between my love. I thought Victor Hedman was going to be a better player, but we needed the forward, right? We all needed the forward back then. We knew that Island team had no scoring. So totally was in agreement with drafting him. But when it comes down to this last deal, and he did give us a bargain contract the first time, in fairness to Tavares. He gave us a bargain contract. And in fairness, he did put the Islanders back on the map. So the good things that JT did, he made the Islanders visible again. He did win us a playoff series. You know, he came through big in that Florida series. He was clutch, and we can all agree with that. But John Tavares' heart was, I think, very fairly torn between Toronto and Long Island. I believe he liked it here. But let's say when you have a significant other who had no desire to stay here, it's going to cause a major conflict. And with Tavares, the Islanders offered him a 7-year, $70 million deal the summer before his last season, and he turned it down. And the agent's reasons for that was related to the cap, saying we want a certain percentage of the cap, and we can't make that decision until we know what the salary cap's going to be. So right there, shouldn't that tell Goss that they're not going to know what the new salary cap's going to be until after the season? Am I right, guys? Yeah. That, to me, if we're not making the playoffs at that point when we get to February, you're gone. Piss poor job by Goss And I thought Snow was actually a better GM than people give him credit for. As far as drafting-wise and finding talent, I thought he was a good GM. But when it came to that scenario, the rule to that, too, is this. When you're a GM, don't become best friends with your player because it clouds your vision. And that's what happened with Tavares and Gosno, and Gosno's advising the owners. Right around Christmas time is what I learned. The wife wanted to go back to Toronto. At that time, the fiance, but wanted to go back to Toronto with her family. And I guess we all know how it is a lot of times with men and women. Yeah, where the woman wants to live, the man is probably going to follow, right? So that had been plotted out, though, by her and the agent starting back in the summertime. And she went to him right around the holidays and told him this is what she wants. She does not want to stay on Long Island. At that point, Tavares gave into it. I always say a great moment in Islanders history is we have the big announcement in January, right, for the new Belmont Arena. There's John Tavares on that stage, right? Look at his face. Would you think the captain of the New York Islanders would be happy to finally have a brand new home, to go into a new state-of-the-art arena that we can compete capital-wise with the New York Rangers, our arch rivals, and be the host of New York? He looked like somebody killed his dog. I tell every Islander fan to go back and look at that. That was a telltale. 100%. I ask you where the Islanders were around Christmas time that year. We were well into the playoffs at that point. We were battling for the division. We were the number one offense in the league. And all of a sudden, somebody's play started dipping badly. And during that 2.5-month span, I saw John Tavares play the worst hockey of his career, including his rookie year. He wasn't back-checking. He wasn't playing any defense. His offense numbers dropped off big time, and the Islanders took a complete drop. We all know the story about him telling Gus, no, don't trade me. I'm going to stay, right? We all know about it.
Oh, yeah.
He made it public. All right, if I'm Gosno as a general manager, hey, I love you, JT. I love you. Either your name is on that contract or I am trading you. There's no way I'm letting you go for nothing. So we have to blame Gosno for that.
For certain.
You know, we were offered from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I can confirm this, a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and William Nylander for Tavares before the deadline, and we turned it down.
They call that a fireable offense if you're a general manager.
Oh, and what happened to him?
Well, he deserved it. Like I said, for me
hold on, the story's not over.
I I thought the story was over.
Oh, no. Just
I'm gonna add the one more little part to it, and then I'll let you know. The wife had gone to school. She had actually trained to be a nurse practitioner. Okay. Fiance became wife. Okay. She was actually applying for jobs in Toronto while all this was going on. Okay. Whether the Islanders knew that or not, I don't honestly know. I don't know if they knew. And I tend to believe they probably didn't know.
Tell me.
Right
tell me right after the season happened, too.
Right after the season, she took a job in Toronto. Okay. Right after the season. I mean, if that's not telling the Islanders that he's leaving, I don't know what is.
See,
okay.
He's not done yet. He's not done yet. How did they find out? Who found out too, Tommy? I want to know who found out and what happened.
The owner found out, Malcolm. He's the first one that found out, and that he went ballistic on Snow, and they went right to Lou. Lou was in the works weeks before they actually signed him, and they knew Tavares was going to leave, and they had to do something, and they could not let Snow and Doug Weight stay here because of this. Because Doug Weight was another one who was John Tavares' caddy. The head coach was his caddy. They hung around all the time. I mean, when Tavares first came into the league as a kid, he roomed with Doug Weight.
Lived in his house.
Yeah. I met them. When Tavares was 18 years old, I actually met them at a little cafe in Oyster Bay and actually sat down and talked with them when Tavares first got here, his first training camp.
Did he say more than 50 words? Did he say more than 50 words?
He talked a decent amount, but he listened a lot. I was telling him about Long Island life. I was telling him about the Islander fan, how we are and what we expect, and to tell him to stay straight. Don't lie to the Islander fan. The Islander fans aren't stupid. I said, we figured things out. We've been punished a lot. I said, and you're technically our savior, which is a hard thing to come in as a kid and be viewed as somebody's savior. That's a lot to put on somebody's shoulders for anybody.
So I could take away from this, Crump. I do. His wife was applying for nurse practitioner positions in Toronto. Do you think he just magically came to the decision at the end of the year? Maybe I'm going to sign in Toronto. Are you kidding me? His wife had already taken a job there in Toronto. That's where the intention was. So guess what? At the trade deadline, when he said, "Don't trade me," he knew the entire time they were moving to Toronto, as most of us had expected. It's weird where now you can connect the dots and you say, oh, yeah, that's right. Again, the only reason we're bringing this up is the trade deadline just came around. I guess I feel a little bit – could you imagine this team? You're right. We are better without John Tavares.
100%.
I do not like – and this should strike a heart with you. This should strike a string on your heart, Grumpy old man. You complain that we don't have enough draft capital. You complain that we don't have enough young players. Could you imagine – if at that trade deadline we traded there for William Nylander and acquired a first and a second, what the prospect pool would look like differently if that happened, Grumpy old man? Could you imagine that? Just want you to envision that. So go ahead. Tell me now you still don't mind John Tavares absolutely screwing the Islanders over because there's no way he didn't know that ahead of time before the trade deadline. That is the issue I have. No complaints with him not being here. I don't care. We're better without him. But I do mind if you're trying to tell me you could have William Nylander, a first and a second, for something that just walked away.
Are you done? You done? I'm so
applying for jobs in Toronto as a nurse practitioner.
I am so glad that you're not butthurt over John Tavares leaving, though, because I don't know what your reaction would be if you were. I mean, when you're not, you're so calm and rational when you discuss his departure. I understand. Okay. Did it bother me that he left? No. I don't care. If a guy leaves, a guy leaves. I don't care. I'm a little bit older than you, so I don't get butthurt over those things. I just don't. Okay. But here's the thing. I don't even blame John Tavares for that. I absolutely don't. That totally falls on Garth Snow. He's the GM.
Yeah.
I don't care what the player tells me he wants to do. Tommy's 100% right. You say, John, sign here or you're getting moved. And if he said, I'm not signing, you take that trade. Because then it sets you up for the next wave. You get some draft capital. You get a good young player going forward to go with Matt Barzal. He didn't do that. That's all on Garth Snow. It's not on John Tavares. I don't blame him.
Garth Snow is also to fault here for certain.
But think about it, how out of touch he was and not knowing what's going on. If the owner of the team, who he's not tracking the day by day of everything that's going on. If he finds out that his fiance, soon to be wife, is accepting jobs in Toronto, why isn't the GM knowing any of this? What has he got his head in the sand? Like I said, I don't blame Tavares at all. I don't. You know what? He earned that right to become a free agent when he signed with somebody else. That's just the way sports is now. It's not the 1950s. So you know what? But it's all on Garth Snow. He should have given the ultimatum, and we said that a long time ago. You don't let it get that late in the game.
I have to blame. I don't blame Tavares for wanting to be a free agent. That's all well and good. But when you are the captain of a team, you've been there for 9 years. You are look. When you walked into Nassau Coliseum with the Barclays, 60% of the crowd had a 91 jersey on. Okay, 60% of the crowd. You do owe something to the fans because we put you up on a pedestal. We made you who you are in some sense, and we deserved a little bit of honesty. Honestly, we did. We didn't deserve to be treated that way. So I blame both.
Yeah, but he's never going to tell you that he wanted to go somewhere else. I don't feel he's a strong enough personality to even say something like that. I never thought he was a team leader. I mean, ever. I mean, he was a captain in name only. I never felt that he was a leader. But I mean, does he strike you as somebody with a forceful personality or someone who's going to? He just doesn't to me. I don't. Like I said, it never bothered me that he left. I could care less. And in the long run, it's better off because he couldn't skate back then. He can't skate now, and he really won't be able to skate 5 years from now.
Here's my question, Grumpy Old Man.
Sanders Lee, go.
Here's my question, Grumpy Old Man. I want to paint a picture. Let's assume Anders Lee is becoming an unrestricted free agent. He says he wants to come back to the Islanders all the time. He says he wants to come back to the Islanders all the time. And he just up and leaves. Grump, how sad would you feel? Would you be heartbroken if Anders Lee were to do that?
No. Here's the thing. I feel we bid against ourselves to get him re-signed. When we didn't get Panarin, we panicked and re-signed him to. I mean, Montreal was his only suitor, right? Did they offer him 7 years?
Yeah, no, the suitors in Montreal.
Well, you know what? He should have been gone. I
was hoping you were going to hit me with an average Anders line. I was only trying to set you up like a volleyball player would, and you just whiffed on it. Come on.
Chicago was highly interested in him too. The Blackhawks were all over Anders Lee.
You know what? That would have hastened our rebuild if he was gone.
They're not in a rebuild right now, though.
Well, we should be in a rebuild now.
Oh,
we'll be soon enough. It's coming. It's coming.
Oh my goodness.
Grumpstradamus, let me tell you something. It's coming.
If you just predict that, yeah, sure, far enough down the line, every team's going to go back through a rebuild. Come on now.
Do you guys honestly expect Lou to be in a rebuild mode right now?
No.
He's in his 80s. He's trying to win one last cup. He's going to sell the farm to get whatever he can get over the next 2 or 3 years to win a Stanley Cup. I think Islander fans should recognize that.
Well, I mean, I firmly believe that. And he's done that. And as I've said before on previous podcasts, with the way the team is set up now, you kind of have to go for it. I just don't think we have enough talent to get there if we are at ancillary pieces. I think we need a couple of big pieces to put us with the potential to win a cup. That's what I do. What now, TJ?
I said like a Taylor Hall, right?
Not like Taylor Hall. You know, I was never in on that. I just didn't think he fit. I just didn't think he fit with what we do here. I like a Forsberg, guys like that. Here's the thing. I'm willing to shoot for the moon. I really am. Taylor Hall, he's like shooting for the 5 and dime down the street.
Oh. Look, I mean, winning a Stanley Cup is very difficult. So I think we should respect the fact that they're trying to win one. They're going for it. Whether they're successful at it over these next few years, that remains to be seen. But I don't think it's impossible for this team to win the cup. I'd say it's a low percentage, but I think it's a low percentage for most teams. I think almost every team is a low percentage team to win the cup because you got so many teams competing. Look at this division we're in. This is the toughest division in the NHL right now. And we're going to have to, no matter what we do, no matter what position we finish in, we're going to have to beat 2 really good teams to get out of this division. That's a fact.
Agreed.
I'm a little more bullish on the Islanders' chances to win the Stanley Cup, and here's the reason why. Listen to me.
Can I get a boot for you to lick?
If I had the knowledge of my little soundboard, I would have given you a little sound there, Grump, but I don't have the knowledge, so I'm gonna have to save that for later. That being said, I'm more bullish, I think, than both you guys. I think that the trade of Kyle Palmieri, if I know you're not a big fan of him, Grump, being on the third line. Trust me, I know you're not a big fan of that. That being said, that third line has unbelievable offensive power. It really does. I would put it up there against any third line in the NHL. It's more than a third line. It's like a second line. And again, for a team that plays this solid four solid lines down the roster, I think that only bodes for more success. The defense is solid. I will be interested to see, the more time Noah Dobson gets removed from having COVID, when he'll be able to pick up where he left off. There's a lot of things I'm still excited about. And again, you do have strong goalies. You've got strong defense. And we added the two pieces. I mean, it might not be the perfect pieces, but we added two pieces to help make a push there on the offensive side of the puck. Again, could we have used a guy like a caliber there of a Taylor Hall who can help go ahead and create a little bit more offensive acumen? Sure. Who doesn't on a first line? But I think Zajac does go ahead and bring the ability to win the face-off there, which Matt Barzal is one of the worst at in the leagues. So, again, it addresses some little needs, maybe not huge needs on that first line, small needs.
Yeah, and you're right about the face-offs. I mean, no argument there. Worst part of Barzal's game. I mean, it's not even close for second. But let's be honest, Zajac is a step or two behind those two guys, just like Leo was, just like Average was. They're always a step or two behind. I'm just not a big believer in, like Barry says, they need to have a heavy guy on the line. I want to see how Palmieri performs on the first line with Barzal. I'd really be interested. I mean, he has a quick release. He's not afraid to go to the front of the net. I want to see that. I don't want to see the guy that you traded for, the linchpin of that deal, and you put him on the third line. I don't want to see. I want to see him at least get an extended shot with Barzal just to see if they develop some chemistry. You can always go back to the other ham and eggers and put them on the first line. But let's see if we can get Palmieri on that first line and see him if he can produce with Barzal. I really want to see that.
I get that. I have a different take on the first line, though. And I had a feeling they may put Zajac there because of the faceoffs. But I actually have a different take on these lines that I think would be the most successful. I think it should be Pajot playing the wing on the first line. I think Pajot, who has played a fair amount of wing in his early part of his career, you put him on Barzal's wing. Pajot's just as good a faceoff guy as Zajac, so I got my faceoffs covered. Did you see that goal Pajot scored against the Rangers?
Yes.
That one-time cross-body shot, top corner. He's very good at that. And since he's a righty, I think Barzal will be setting him up. I think Pajot will have a field day. I think he'll score a ton of goals playing with Barzal. I think keeping Eberle with Barzal and putting Pajot on that wing would be a great first line. I'll tell you what I would do with my second line would be broken up. Even though I know that line has played well, I would move Wahlstrom up. I really love Wahlstrom. I would love Wahlstrom, Nelson, and Palmieri on the second unit. That would give us two power lines. And then the third line could still be effective. If you got Beauvillier on one side with his speed, and Zajac's got good speed, and he's very defensively responsible, and you're playing with Bailey, I like that front nine that way. And then, of course, our fourth line, of course, the identity line. That would be how I put the lines together, personally.
I just don't think that Trotz doesn't like to break too many things up. I mean, that's just the way he is. I don't know if there's a creator on that second line that you just described. Someone has to be a creator. That second line did nothing all year long until Beauvillier went back up there. He started out slow. They were dead. He got injured. They're dead. He goes to third line. They spark. They move him up to the second line. Third line dies. Second line has a spark. We only have a couple of guys who drive lines on this team, and he's one of them. The Pajot to the first line intrigues me. I just don't see him taking him off that third line. He likes him centering that third line. I just don't see that happening. But you're right. He could do that because he did that with when he was with Ottawa. He was really good on. He was. I mean, of course they were not a great team, but he was Mr. Everything there as well, and he was the first line guy there. So I mean, I think he'd fit in with Barzal. I just don't know if Zajac as centering that third line with the king of the secondary assist. I don't know.
That'd be
Hey,
my favorite lines ever created, I feel like.
No, I don't hate Zajac yet. He's what, 37 years old? I don't hate him. He's 37. I mean, what do you expect from him? Like Andy Green, I was pleasant. Here's the thing. I set my expectations with guys who are really old, like my age. Whenever they go out there on the ice, the expectation can't be up here. It's got to be here. So they don't upset me when they don't reach it.
Well,
it's funny. I just gave him Bailey on the third line, like he's been begging for all the shows I watch for you guys.
That's true.
And he's always saying, "Put Bailey on the third line." I put him on the third line, and he still found a way to hammer him.
But here's the thing. I didn't criticize him for being on the third line. I just wanted everyone who listens to the podcast to know who I was talking about. They know him as the king of the secondary assist, Tom.
That's the only. I was about to say, if you start using their real names, they're going to get confused.
Yeah. Hey, everyone knows when they ask questions, they call him Croc, average. This way, everyone knows who we're talking about. The $6 million man. Everybody knows who they are.
Oh, goodness.
But statistically, I have to correct you though, Gio. I mean, he's not the king of the secondary assists. He's not statistically. Do you know who is? Brock Nelson.
Oh well, I don't even. Here's the thing, but Brock Nelson's not afraid to shoot the puck.
No, he's got a good shot.
But Brock Nelson's not a creator. He's not. He never has been and never will be. He's a guy who shoots the puck. But here's the thing. He's really good. He's a really solid two-way center. He is, no doubt about it. I thought he struggled early in the year. I still think he was hurt in some way, shape, or form. I mean, he just wasn't skating, and now it seems like he's got a little bit of jump. Maybe he was missing Bavilier. I don't know. Maybe he was feeling like TJ when John Tavares got traded. And as soon as he got his little hero back, Bavilier, all of a sudden, he's able to just step his game up again. Perhaps that's what happened.
I'm just telling you, Grump. Last point here on this. Last one, Grump. That's all I'm going to say. Last one. Very last one.
As long as we're not going back to Tavares.
That was the last point on Tavares, is what I was going to say. My last point on Tavares, Grump. You keep bringing it up. I'm gonna go ahead and respond to it. Man, oh man, just makes you think. Right? What would this team have looked like? Again, I'm not sure what the cap implications would have been. You wouldn't have needed – they should have made you happy, right? If we had a guy like Nylander too. I mean, right, maybe there's not as much of a pressure to sign, in that offseason when we had to go ahead and had free agents there of Eberle, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson. We would have signed back Brock, but maybe there's not as much pressure to sign back either of those two wingers there, and you get a first and a second. So, again, he knew the entire time. That's all I'm going to say. But we have got some comments here, Grump.
You're right. I would have been extremely less angry. I love those deals. You get rid of a guy who's a free agent who's going to walk, and you bring in some young talent. That's perfect. That's perfect world for me.
Brian J wants to say, take that nasty soccer jersey off. Jeez. And I know that's directed towards you, Grump. You're the one wearing a soccer jersey right now.
I don't care. Brian, I love you, but hey, Real Madrid qualified for semifinals and Champions League today. They're going to be playing Chelsea, and I'm a Real Madrid guy, so suck it. I'm wearing the jersey today. Sorry. I love you, Brian.
Says that Frank has more hair than everyone on this live stream. That he does. We could add all of our hair together, Tommy, Grumpy, and myself, and I think Frank's got us beat.
Okay, that's really not fair. We don't know how much hair Tommy has on his back, first of all. So, there could be more hair that's, we don't know about. But yes, on top of the head, it's not like Tommy brings anything to the table with this at all. So,
I'll do it again.
Come on. He looks worse than you. No, he doesn't. No, sorry.
Oh, goodness. Crump couldn't even do that. By the way, I forgot to mention the lines are open. That's why I popped up that little call on their number at the bottom. Again, it's at 318-608-2245. If you catch a busy signal, I apologize. I don't have any setup where I could put it on call waiting or anything like that. But the lines are open there for call and guests. If you have comments or questions there for myself, the Grumpy Old Man, or Coach Tommy Baffi. Grump, you're about to say something?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Everyone was like to bag on TJ, for his shoddy production and everything else that he screws up on this podcast. But
speak of the damn devil.
Okay. All right. I don't know what that was. Maybe he did it on purpose.
It was my soundboard by accident. I apologize. I was taking my phone off of the soundboard.
Okay. But if we could just limit to one or two questions top and a little bit of conversation. And TJ's too nice to cut you off. So I'll give the cutoff sign when I've heard too much of someone. But yeah, I mean, TJ's too sweet. He's too nice a guy. I'm just telling you right now. So I'll have to play the Barry badass here. I'll pretend like the callers are Matt Barzell, and I'll be Barry Trotz after he takes one penalty and scores 5 goals and has 3 assists, and we win 8-1. I'm going to make sure I'm going to treat those callers like that penalty. So.
Oh, goodness gracious, grumpy old man. In rare form as always. Comment there by Mike M saying also, Hall looked really good in the Boston game. The speed and the shooting were also there.
Yeah, he didn't come back and play any defense, and the coach mentioned it after the game. So, no. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, he wants to play offense, but like I said, if you're going to play here, you got to subjugate your game a little bit, and you got to play. That's just the way it is. And they have the same system in Boston. And the fact that the coach
I thought I got this fixed. I thought I got it fixed, grumpy old man.
Is it on vibrate?
It is on vibrate. Hey, you're live there with TJ, the grumpy old man, and Coach Tommy Baffi. I'm sorry, Grump. I don't know how to work this, but hey, who do we have calling today?
Hey, how you doing? It's Jersey side. What's going on?
Hey, not much. What do you have there for us today?
Recently on social media and Islander pages, I have put out some Bailey stuff about, like, what do you think about Bailey after 13 years? And I am so confused what to think about it, because half the people still hate him, half the people like him. Is this thing ever going to, like, be resolved with Bailey? I mean, what should I expect?
Okay, I'll field that one. Why is Josh Bailey loved by some and hated by others? You know what? He's a great guy. He's really a great guy. So he's very easy to like. Right, Tommy? Would you not agree with that? Very likable fella.
Very.
But here's the thing. He doesn't produce on the ice. And maybe it's the fact that the coaching staffs, all of them, try to elevate him to play first-line roles, second-line roles, when really all he is be a good third-line player. That's why people hate him, because first of all, he won't shoot the puck. He's not productive. And for as smart as he is, I mean, that's what they keep telling us. The media cartel keeps on how smart he is. Well, you know what? Then you can be a coach and not a player. I want guys who produce. That's why you're going to see the dichotomy between we love Josh Bailey, we hate him. Great person, player.
I answered your question.
I just answered the question.
I'm going to answer it short. There's never going to be a resolve, because even people that are along the board and they kind of give like he is what he is type of analysis, there's going to be fans like you, grumpy old man. There are going to be fans who are always going to hate him because he's never performed to what his potential was.
I don't hate him. You
might not, but there will be fans who do that. For certain, there are. You don't, but there are.
I rip on his performance. But here's the thing. There will be resolution. It's called the Kraken, because we have a history of Krakens in this area. He's going to be in an extension draft. Oh, my God.
He's going away in the extension draft.
The Kraken.
Any other questions there from, you said Jersey side?
He left.
Oh,
he knows how to do it. He asks his question, he gets off. That's the way you're supposed to do it, TJ.
Fair enough, Grump. Well,
he's a professional. And don't have that ringtone go.
I had to find a way to fix it. I thought I fixed it, Grump. I did not. I apologize there for that, grumpy old man.
David Cutler.
David Cutler. We love David Cutler.
You're live with TJ, the grumpy old man, and Coach Tommy Baffi. How are you?
Gentlemen, how's it going?
Not too bad. What do you have for us today?
Mr. Baffi, what's cooking, pal?
Cooking is we're going to the playoffs, maybe first place. That's what's cooking. That's what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
All right. I give that trade a C. This is just me. We needed 2 left wingers. We got a right winger and a center. The center is really, to me, a fourth-line center, who maybe could replace Casey when he gets hurt in the playoffs like he always does. And I would have liked Foligno better, to be honest with you. To me, he's an Anders Lee clone, a little smaller, plays a similar game, would have fit right in on that first line. And I'm not thrilled with the trade. Palmieri, to me, looks a little lost on the left side. Zajac on the first line. I mean, this guy was playing on the third line on the second to last place team. Now he's playing on the first line on a second place team. Not happy about it. Grump, you look like you agree with me.
One thing I'd like to say about that, we had Leo Komarov, who was playing on the taxi squad. He was a first line player for us too. So I guess that's a step up if somebody's a third. Well, is it though? If you're a third liner on New Jersey, is that the same as being a taxi squad guy for the Islanders? I mean, that's a really valid question. But I think Zajac is better than Leo Komarov. I do.
Yeah, definitely.
Those are the questions that Aristotle would ponder upon.
I'm thinking about it. I'm going to be thinking about it the rest of the night, or at least till the next score comes.
Should I upset Islander fans right now for a second?
Go ahead, Tommy.
Well, we are playing Boston on Thursday and Friday night, and I have to say this: Uncle Leo has played really good hockey for some reason against the Boston Bruins. So I'm warning some of these Islander fans right now that Uncle Leo might be in the lineup these next two games. I'm just going to give them an early warning sign.
Well, I think that's very possible. Barry knows that Leo's boyfriend is on the other team, and they like to do a little tongue kissing in the corners. So maybe you're going to throw him a bone there. I don't know, but who would sit in that instance? Let me think. Who would we possibly sit? Who would we sit? Who's under the age of 50 on this team? Maybe Oliver Wahlstrom, perhaps.
Oh goodness gracious!
And I got a point to pick with TJ. You there, TJ?
I'm there. I'm here.
I don't get any credit. I named the fire hydrant, got no credit. I named the three amigos, get no credit.
I was about to say,
and I'm just looking for a little credit, buddy.
I was about to say, we need to go. Just like, man, I guess we haven't been doling out credit equally enough here, grumpy old man, because we had Jerry Springer calling in saying, "Hey, I need some credit for the ball jokes first and the hair jokes there first." And we didn't go ahead and give him credit. Yeah, David, we do need to give him credit. The fire hydrant in full swing, as well as the three amigos. Now it's easy for us to go ahead and assimilate there and bring up those conversations, those talking points. So, David, we do have to go ahead and give you some credit for that, for certain.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
I'd like to just touch on that. That's the thing I love about this podcast, honestly. People could just call up. It's like we're all friends. You know what I mean? So we talk mad garbage about one another, TJ's hair, me being old, and everybody calls in whoever
like that.
So that's what makes this fun, though. Honestly, that's right. I forgot that David was the three amigos. I totally forgot about that.
I was about to say.
Thank you.
All right, boys. Be good.
Thank you. All righty, the line's back open again. I had to deny a call there a second there. But yeah, Grump, one day I'm going to finally figure out how to make it fixed.
Try to be tomorrow.
Press 1 to send a.
Hey, you're live here with TJ, the grumpy old man, and Coach Tommy Baffi. Who do we have?
We got Brian Pauser. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Brian?
How are we? Coach Baffi. He almost made me crash my truck when I heard Leo was going to be in. I was going to crash my truck when Leo was back in the freaking lineup.
Brian, I did that just for you, by the way. That was directed to you.
I know. I know you did. I know. Me and you think the game the same way, buddy. We like speed, skill, and goals. That's what we like.
The sexy style of hockey.
This team lacks that.
Hey, we're not fun to watch. So go ahead. Did you have a question?
Well, if you're going to mix up the lines, I mean, we have too many right shots, I think. Like, we got 6 of our top 9 shoot right-handed. How about, if you're going to put, I don't mind the Pajot on the first line thing. That's pretty good with Eberle. How about line 2, Brock with Wally and Bo? And then line 3, Travis, Bailey, and Eberle. Who am I missing? No, not Eberle.
Palmieri.
Palmieri, yeah. What do you think?
I tell you what.
Let's watch Palmieri with Eberle.
Flip-flop Palmieri with Eberle. So Eberle there.
Drop Eberle down to the third line. Well, that's the end of him scoring. That's for certain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know if anybody goes out, it's going to be the kid. We know Wally's going to get screwed right before any of them. So
Yeah, he's already made his excuses like, oh, well, he's tired. He's this, he's that. No, he scores goals. He scores goals. That's the problem. He scores goals.
Oh,
No, I look.
Yeah.
He's 20, guys. So remember something. This is the most condensed.
Yeah, I know. The Islanders are like a bar.
He's never played a schedule like this.
You get carded when you're 21. You get carded when you're 31. You get on the Islanders.
Remember, Brian, he came from college hockey, Wallstrom. I want you to remember that, okay? So if they have to give him a few games rest here and there to get him ready for the playoffs, my friend. That's a good thing. We want Wallstrom fresh and in attack mode when the playoffs hit. I think Wallstrom is the key to our success in the playoffs.
As long as he's playing in the playoffs, I'm okay. If he's benched for the playoffs, I'm going to be disgusted. But if he's playing in the playoffs, I'm cool with that. But give him 2 days off in the regular season, I'm all right. But he better be in the lineup in the playoffs. We need a dangerous player like him in the lineup.
I have a suggestion. Why don't we rest some of these old guys in a condensed schedule as opposed to a guy who's 21 years old? There's another option.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not like not like the old guys are producing. Maybe they need a rest. Maybe Josh Bailey, who scored once in the last 130 games on the power play.
Matt Martin. How about Matt Martin for a game? Matt Martin was terrible last game.
He's the $6 million man. He was terrible the last game.
Dude, he was. I said it too.
He was. It was probably the worst game I've seen him. That was probably the worst game he played all year. He was bad. But like I said,
and I love Matt Martin, but
Now, did Barry come out and rip him for those two really terrible, lazy penalties? Nope.
Of course not. No. Only you got to be young and skilled to get ripped.
Thank you very much. That's why we love you on this podcast.
Well, thanks for calling in, Brian. I appreciate it for certain.
All right. Love you guys. Love you all three. You guys do shit. All right.
Thank you.
Is there any way we can send him an Uncle Leo jersey?
Hey, I wear it. I wear anything anybody gives me. I don't care. I'm not somebody who's going to wear my free clothes.
Goodness gracious.
All right.
Well, Grump, we have it. I'll tell you, it's maybe one day I could finally get this fixed, Grump, but it won't be this podcast. I apologize.
Obviously.
To accept, press 1.
Hey, you're here there with TJ, the grumpy old man, and Coach Tommy Baffi. Who do we have with us today?
Hey, it's Phil. How's it going?
Hey, Phil, how are you?
Good. I wanted to call back because we spoke pre-trade deadline the night before, and now that you guys are giving trade grades, I wanted to give my 2 thoughts on that based on what I heard from Grumpy earlier. But before that, just anecdotally wanted to add, after listening to Tommy's story, I live here in Toronto. I have a girl that worked for me for a couple years who was a classmate of Tavares' wife. And at the time, it wasn't even a secret. It was very well known in Whitby that she was coming back and that he was going to be coming back with her. Everyone here knew. And that's why at that trade deadline, I was furious because I had already known from the grapevine from the community in Whitby that was going to happen. Very small world here. But in any event, getting back to the trade grade, Grumpy, I have to disagree with you on the B, just in the context of this trade deadline. I would say with the exception of Yzerman, who absolutely fleeced Washington in that Mantha deal, I can't think of any trade that was made where a team got better value than what the Islanders did over here, given what they gave up. Florida gave a couple seconds for Sam Bennett. It was, not a couple seconds, a second, and a guy who was picked last year in the second round. The Leafs gave up a first and 2 fourths for Foligno. Taylor Hall's a different story because Taylor Hall got to choose his destination, and the entire time he was only going to Boston, so he really handcuffed Buffalo. But in the context of this particular trade deadline, I can't think of any team, with the exception of Yzerman, who got better value. Want to hear your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily going to disagree with you on that. I'm just not a big Palmieri fan, I guess, is my whole thing. I don't think, and I hope I'm wrong. Honestly, I hope I'm wrong. I've just never, maybe, like I said, I've said this before, it's maybe that devil's bias. We want to pick up guys from a team that sucked for a lot of years. And it's just like, I don't know. I know he scores 25 goals, a year with Jersey. But I remember Mariusz Czerkowski used to average that many goals too for the Islanders. and he wasn't great either. I mean, they did fill their needs, and I'm not disappointed that we made the moves. I just didn't want to give up a first-round pick. That's all. And it was only because of the dearth of talent that we have in our farm system. That's really the only reason, is we don't have any young, particularly young offensive players in the minors. And that was the whole thing for me. So
I think this year too, I mean, like the trade deadline was relatively quiet. I mean, like you look at the Mantha deal, I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of like, wow,
yeah, but why?
Blockbuster. But I mean, it's relatively quiet, this trade deadline.
Yeah, but why, TJ? Because the salary cap is flat, and nobody could trade. Nobody could trade. They couldn't make big deals if they had to take salary on, because everybody, with the exception of your Detroits and your Ottawas, they're the only teams with money. So they're the only teams that can take contracts back. Everybody else couldn't. And I felt that's what kind of hurt everybody.
And Phil, you asked the question of who else made a better trade. I think, again, maybe because people just are I think maybe I just value Taylor Hall too highly. I mean, like a second-round pick for Taylor Hall.
No,
I
agree. Yeah, I agree. But Taylor Hall, and someone tweeted this out that night when that trade was made, like, oh my goodness, how could Lou not have made this trade? And I wrote back, I said, it's very simple. Taylor Hall had a no-move clause. It's very clear based on the price here that Taylor Hall dictated his way to Boston, and he was only going to choose Boston. I mean, if you just think of it from the time Taylor Hall hit free agency and signed that 1 year, $8 million deal, he wasn't going to a contender. He was going there so he could play with Eichel and hopefully cash in. And then if you're looking at the teams that are in contention and where you might want to end up, well, Boston has $30 million in cap space next year. So I pointed out, hey, this is a place where he could sign long-term and play for a team that's in contention. It just makes perfect sense that he would want to go there and prove to them that he should get a nice big slice of that $30 million. With the Islanders, it's a pure rental situation. There's no way they could sign him back because they, even if they wanted to re-sign Palmieri, that would be tough. So with knowing that, and then the next morning, all the reports ended up coming out that Hall forced his way to Boston, Buffalo was really handcuffed, and Lou could have come with a better package at that point, and they still would have had to go to Boston.
Right, and that's what you're hearing. And he's already said he wants to sign long-term in Boston. So you're 100% on that. But think about it, right, TJ? If Anders Lee doesn't go down injured, we don't make a move we maybe go Coburn, but we're not gonna pick up a high-priced player. We're just not going to, who couldn't fit him under the cap.
No.
Unless we could get rid of
you'd have to offload. You'd have to offload somebody else there.
You'd have to offload, and I think they would have.
They might have, because they were looking at guys like Gall, and I can tell you that right now. So they might have. There was certain players on this team that I know that were out there on the market that I kind of don't want to necessarily comment on yet right now, because it would probably shock some Islander fans. But I'd say Taylor Hall did the Islanders a favor. If Taylor Hall doesn't go to Boston, the Capitals don't make that dumb trade with Detroit. They don't make that dumb trade because they might have gotten them. Then we got rid of a guy who killed us. We made the Capitals get rid of Verana, who killed the Islanders, and they coughed up their draft capital and they gave up Panic. I think Taylor Hall did the Islanders a favor if you really want to look at it.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, giving up.
Go ahead, Phil, please.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Jimmy, giving up Panic there wasn't an asset move. They essentially included an extra pick and Panic as a cap dump. Panic was waived about 3 weeks ago and had been on Washington's taxi squad. And if you look today, they re-signed Connor Sherry. So Panic was not going to be in their near-term or long-term plans. And if you want to look for a template as to what it's going to cost to remove a guy like Leo Komarov, well, he's making about $200,000 more than Panic with 1 year left. So if you figure that the second-round pick was so that Detroit would take Panic in order so that Washington could make the money work long-term with what they want to do this offseason, and that it was Verana and a first for Mantha, which is still a ridiculous overpayment in my opinion, because there's not much that separates those two players. You kind of get a decent template as to what it's going to look like when the Islanders want to offload Leo, something probably a little bit less than a second.
But they don't have to offload Leo. He's a very easy buyout candidate. He's a very simple buyout candidate.
Yeah.
Same with Thomas Hickey. Those guys can be bought out with minimal hit.
Leo's hit is still going to be about 1.6. Buying out Leo versus burying Leo only saves you about $400,000. Hickey is where you get savings. Hickey's cap hit if you buy him out is about $833. Leo's cap hit is still 1.6, and then you have another year penalty. So I think they're going to want to move Leo. Hickey, if they can't move him, I think they're just going to simply buy him out because his cap hit is only going to be at 33.
Yeah.
Okay, now 2 things I got to say.
But
Number
again,
one,
I don't want to overstay my welcome.
all right, get off.
I'm going to
Get off. You're done. Off.
Late.
Thanks.
All right, later,
man.
Phil.
2 things. The first one is I'm really interested to see how Mantha's going to play with the team that has something to play for.
Yeah.
With some guys that has a positive effect on, some guys that has a negative. He's a big kid. I'm going to be watching him to see what he brings to the table there. And number 2, Tommy, you don't come on this show and lay something out there on you'd be surprised which guys you heard were on the block, and then you don't say anything. You got to give a name.
I got real quick before we jump in.
I'm gonna tell you. I'll give you the name.
Shout out there, Isles Misery as well. You forgot to do it there on the call to shout out Isles Misery.
Okay.
But yes, I want to hear. Tommy.
Pavilier was out on the trade market. I'm just telling
You know
you
what?
right now.
That does not surprise me in the absolute least. Why? Because he's a guy up for he's this year's Devon Taves. That's what he now see. That's who I was going to say. I was going to pick either him or Pellick. Though
Pellick, they love him. I mean, he is Barry's boy. They want Pellick back. I can tell every Islander fan that, and he will sign a 5 or 6 year deal. We will not lose him. We will not lose Sorokin. If we're going to lose somebody, it's Pavilier.
See, those are the type of moves that absolutely send me over the edge. Like I go over Niagara Falls without a barrel whenever I hear news like that. Devon Taves, Anthony Pavilier. But we are going to sign back guys, and we'll sign Casey Zizekas back. Where, yeah, you watch. They love him. He's another loved one. If we could offer Josh Bailey another contract extension, I'm sure that we would. But here's the thing: I just don't believe in letting go of younger, up and coming talent to keep older guys who are already at their ceiling and on the way down. And we did that last year, and it would not surprise me at all if we do the same thing next year. The 2 second-round picks for Devon Taves was really a bad deal for Lou. That's a bad deal.
Can I say something here about this Zizekas thing?
Sure.
I want you to think for a second, guys. Do you think just maybe that bringing Travis Zajac in here puts them in a better bargaining position with Casey Zizekas? Because if he don't sign, they can give Zajac a 1 year, $1.5 million deal to be your 4th-line center. Zajac's not going anywhere but New Jersey or New York. He will not play anywhere else. Due to where his family is. He will not do it. He only waived his no trade to play here because of the location and the possibility to win. That's it. So we could get him dirt cheap and tell Casey goodbye.
I just,
here's my question. I do have questions about it. Do you feel like the Islanders have done a good job, though, in actually bargaining and negotiating deals? The only reason I'm asking is I think the Brock Nelson was it was a great value deal for us. But remember, when we signed Brocky, wildly inconsistent, still had a lot of knocks on him there until he was really able to go ahead and flourish under the Barry Trotz system. But I'm like, okay, you have to go ahead and offer Matt Bart. I hate to bring up the $6 million man, as Grump would say. But I mean, Matt Martin, I know he gets a 4-year deal. I know after the first 2 years, it's easy to buy him out. I do get it, and that's kind of what the route they're going to do, probably in all likelihood. But I'm like, has there been any deal where you say, wow, the Islanders did a great job on this particular re-signing. They did a great job. They got a sweetheart type deal. I'm not saying every deal has to be like that, but I just don't think we're going to do that.
I think Pajot's deal is great. I think it was an excellent deal, the Pajot deal.
$5 million a year for a guy who plays.
I think he's well worth that. The guy's a complete hockey player. He plays every aspect of the game. If you can play him on the first line, the second line, the third line, the power play, the penalty kill, he wins faceoffs. He's tough as nails. I think the Pajot signing was well worth it.
See, that's where TJ and I differ. I love JG Pajot. I loved him when he was in Ottawa. TJ was against that deal, and I loved it.
I was against a deal for how much we gave up. In principal value, if you give up a first and a second round pick for a guy who's going to play the number 3 center role, I'm not going to be a big fan of it. Just in general, I'm like, if he plays a higher role for certain, I get it. And again, this is before I knew how Barry was going to use him. Barry does a good job of making sure he plays more than the 3rd-line center role. I mean, he's playing, like 16, 17 minutes a night? So again, he's done a good job of incorporating him there. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of overpaying guys who play on the bottom six.
Yeah, he's a bad.
He's more than a third line center, I know, but so I don't know. That's where I guess I have my mental hang up.
Well, here's the thing: you don't want to be paying your bottom line $10 million a year. I'm sorry, it's just a waste of funds. I mean, you could have anybody play 10 minutes a night. Bring in 3 hungry kids and have them, play with their hair on fire.
Bring in Simon Holmstrom.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, go ahead. Bring in Simon Holmstrom. They need guys to clean up the pucks after the game because Josh is too old to bend over, pick him up, and he's his replacement for that.
We did leave out 2 very good contracts, by the way. Adam Pelech himself, that was a great contract. Great contract.
Wasn't that by Snow, though? Wasn't that a Snow deal?
It was a Snow deal. Same with Mayfield's, though. I was going to say Mayfield's deal has been a great deal.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. I think Gar Snow is as many deficiencies as he had. Man, oh man, could he lowball players? And again, the Islanders were miserable back when they signed those extensions too, though. So again, now that they're playing better, I'm like, I think they're gonna warrant more.
Well, like I said, I think those guys were good deals without a doubt. I think the Pulak deal was bad. I think that was bad. You let him go. That deal's up in 2 years, and he's unrestricted. I know he supposedly loves it there, but to me, that's a bad deal. And the Barzell deal was bad too, because you let him go 1 year before he could be unrestricted. I don't know what he wanted, but whatever it was, he's the face of your franchise going forward. You get it to him. If you have to sacrifice some other guys, you have to. He's the best player on your team. You cannot let your last 2 marquee players walk. You can't do it.
No, I have a question about that. You said the Matt Barzal deal was bad because he becomes he gets his contract expires when he has 1 year left of restricted free agency. I don't know. It's better than having a deal that literally bridges him to unrestricted free agency like we've had there in the past. I'm not saying it's a great deal, but again, it's unfortunate when you bring over guys that do kind of handicap you further with the cap, and you inherited some poor contracts there. I mean, it's going to make it tough and difficult. I'll be interested though to see what Adam Pelech gets paid this season. I really am.
I'll give you a guess.
Please do it.
I think he gets 6 years, $30 million.
That's fair. I was going to say $4.5 million a year to 5. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I mean, now this year he's tried to be a little bit more offensive, and it's okay. He's not an offensive defenseman. But he's good with Pulak. He is. I like Adam Pelech. I don't think he's been as good this year. I think he's been a little bit step slow. Maybe it's still the Achilles injury a little bit, but I've seen him get walked around quite a few times this year, which we never saw that previously. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I say this. I think Pulak has been our best defensive defenseman this year. He's actually elevated himself above Pelech defensively, if you really want to ask. If people are really paying attention, they are the best defensive pairing from a defensive standpoint in the NHL. The NHL.
I mean, they've been, like I said, and I think they've taken, because I think Pellet's taken a step back this year a little bit. I thought they were better last year as a tandem, as opposed to this year. And for me, defensively, I think before he had COVID, Noah Dobson was right there defensively. He makes the right play all the time. And for a kid, he's not even a man. He doesn't even have his man body yet. He's still a boy. And the way he's able to shield that puck and just do little things in the corners where he's able to turn the puck around the other direction, sky's the limit for that kid. I love him. I think he's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think the vision I have, and that's why they may have to go into the summer and try and extend Pulak after July 1st and try and get something done there. Because to me, the vision of Pulak and Pelech and Dobson eventually with Samuel Bolduc, who I absolutely love, those as a top 4 for a long time, and they're all big guys. And I said, I'm not a smallest defenseman lover. I'm just not. They get pushed around too much in the corners. They get pushed around too much in the front of the net. I want that as my top 4 for a good 6-7 years.
See, that's why. See, I was dreaming Dobson and Taves. See, I thought they would have made a really good defense pairing before, we were forced to trade them because Lou wasn't smart enough to know that Johnny Boychuk was not going to be able to come back and play and put him on long-term injury.
Well, he didn't know the pain. We forget something sometimes. There is no way any of these GMs could have known the pandemic was going to hit and destroy the salary cap. We would have had about $7 million more on this cap to spend. If we had that, is Tays gone or is he signed?
Well, who knows? I think he probably would have been re-signed. But the whole thing is, you need to know. Lou needed to know that Johnny Boychuk wasn't coming back and playing again. He had to know that. And it's like, okay, so you're going to trade a building block who hasn't even played who's maybe played 150 games in the league at this point and is lighting it up. He's a plus 20. TJ, did you know he's a plus 24? And I know plus minus isn't everything, but he's a plus 24 with freaking Colorado. I mean,
Colorado's a good team, but yeah, he's one of the highest plus minuses there in the NHL. Again, 39 games played as they just pop up stats. You might not be able to see, Grump, because I know you have those really old eyes.
It's because the screen is so freaking small. It's nothing to do with my eyes.
It makes a little bit of both.
Well, I'll tell you, he's lit the world on fire. And what I worry too, and we knew he would. I thought we got bent over the barrel. And the issue and the problem I worry too about the Anthony Beauvillier is we are going to get fleeced again this summer for that deal because we are going to be juxtaposed against the cap. We are. And the thing is, I hate when you have to go ahead and give up a guy who's extremely valuable, like a guy like Devon Toews, who is a top four anywhere you go in the NHL. Doesn't matter what team you're playing on, an undeniable top four. And you go ahead and get only 2 second-round picks back in return for a league where top four defensemen, especially young top four defensemen, get a king's ransom. I really worry about how we're going to be able to go ahead and leverage – how other teams are going to leverage the unfortunate cap situation we'll be in if we do trade a guy like Anthony Beauvillier this offseason.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Grub.
That's why you need to make sure that you expose guys who make some money to the Kraken.
Agreed.
It has to happen. I don't care. You don't have a first-round pick to give up, but maybe you could give them a Kiefer Bellows who has no future with this team. Maybe him and – take Josh Bailey or Nick Leddy he's safe now after this year. But he would have been a prime candidate. Somebody, okay, let's take that $5-6 million off the cap. Oh, you know who's calling? You know who's on the line?
Lou Lamoriello.
He knows.
Is it Lou?
Is your secretary grabbing that grumpy old man?
He knows it's that time. He's like, hey, stop telling the company secrets. So, but I'm going to say it anyway. You got to move somebody who makes some significant money off in this offseason. It's the only way to make it work.
I really wonder what Sorokin's going to get paid to. I really do. I mean, ideally, I've always said it. Is that only 4?
Think about 4.25.
For how long? What, a 2-3 year deal?
No, it's got to be longer than 2.
He's going to get a 4-year deal, very similar to that Halak deal we did, if you remember. It's going to be something in the range of 4.16, 4 for 18.
And that's still, in the long run, that's a good deal for us. That's a good deal for us.
Here's my question for him. I mean, like, I try to look at it from his standpoint and point of view. He's going to be a guy that ideally, I mean, he's going to want to get paid. I know he knows the cap's flat. Why wouldn't he just say, hey, just sign me a little bit more short term because I know I'm going to be able to go ahead and get the issues I need to go ahead and get worked on in the offseason. What?
I know the answer to that because he's still not aware of the dollars and the rubles. So that helps him out a little bit until he learns the American currency. He doesn't, he's used to getting rubles. So now he's going to get paid American dollars. He really thinks he's rich until he learns the language.
We keep saying rubles. I think it's rubles.
I'm going to tell you another thing that people maybe don't understand about the Sorokin thing. Sorokin wanted desperately to be here. He wanted to be in New York. Okay. He wants to battle Shesterkin. They are very, very competitive friends. He wants this Islander Ranger rivalry. He doesn't want to go anywhere. So, look, he realizes that if he wants to get his big 6-year, 7-year contract, he's going to have to take this 4-year deal at maybe a touch of a reduced rate to prove himself to get that. And I have no doubt Sorokin's going to be an all-star goaltender. I have no doubt about it. And I'm telling you right now, that's one of the reasons that he wants to stay in this market. And he wants to be one of the stars of UBS in the new arena.
Here's my thing. I mean, those type of things change. I mean, like, he's young, first off, and again, like those rivalries, the more and more he gets disconnected. I mean, like, I'm sure there might always be a certain extent, But I mean, those type of things could change. They're fleeting. I've always been a player where, again, if I'm looking at the player side, you want to maximize what you can get paid. I guess that was always my my mindset was, hey, maximize what you can get paid. I mean, all those other things are trivial. But I mean, it's not always everybody's thought process.
Maybe that's why you're not playing now, because you didn't love the game. You're just in it for the money.
Yeah, that's it.
Why don't you do another commercial for us
Come
now?
on. DJ, other aspects to signing contracts, where you're playing, chance to win, your family. You cannot tell me that family does not play a huge part in where these guys sign.
He doesn't have a family.
It's other things than money.
Oh, he doesn't have a family. I'm just saying he's young like that. I'm just like, I think he's going to sign. If I'm him in his position, I'm signing a short-term deal. And as soon as that cap opens back up, sure, if you want to go ahead and pay me and shell out hand over fist for certain. I mean, how much longer does Varlamov have left on his contract? 3 years, right?
Yeah,
2 after this year.
Okay, I'm signing a 2-year deal, and as soon as Varlamov is going after 2 seasons, I want to go ahead and make sure I'm getting more than what that was.
okay, I'm going to tell you what. And here I am again, speaking up for my pal Lou Lamoriello, because I'm always on his side, as everyone knows.
Hold on. Is Lou Lamoriello watching the podcast? Are you being held at gunpoint?
I'm not being held at gunpoint.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Lou gave him that good faith deal last year. And I think they know that he was wanted here. And I think they probably already, I don't know the numbers, but it wouldn't surprise me if they had already talked about an extension going forward after this year. That would not surprise me at all.
Yep.
So,
100%.
And I mean, I think, he didn't want to come here when Garth Snow was here. I think everyone knows that. But I think Lamoriello has done everything that he could to make it comfortable for him, from signing Varlamov to being in constant contact with him all the time. And I tell you what, it's one of the things besides signing Barry, which I still think was his best move since becoming general manager here. I think number 2 was getting Sorokin here long term. I really do, for guys he brought in from the outside.
Yeah, for certain. If I'm him, this is just the position I would take. I'd say, hey, I'm signing a 2-year extension. You can go ahead and give me $3.5-4 million per. But the thing is, as soon as Varlamov leaves, I couldn't imagine us re-signing back Varlamov after this contract.
No, I don't think so. But by then he'll be comfortable. I mean, here's the thing. You can sign any goalie, really. Here's the thing. What have I said before about any goalie that comes in here? If you're a good goalie, you can look great. And if you're a great goalie, you can be a superstar. And that's where I think Sorokin is. I mean, you see, he does things out there that most goalies cannot do. He's so athletic. I mean, like I said, I know you've always called him the white whale. I'm like, hey, let's pump the brakes. And, early in the season, all right, he had a couple things. You saw him making mistakes. But here's the thing. What do you see from him? His rebound control has been much better. He's angling pucks into the corners now. He's challenging shooters more, which he was not doing early in the year. Okay? And he's doing that now. And he's absolutely spectacular in shootout, without a doubt.
He's the most flexible goaltender I have ever watched in the history of this sport. And I'm not afraid to say it. I saw, when I watched him playing in Russia, I saw Dominic Hasek. That's exactly who I saw.
He reminds me of the kid in Youngblood with that mask on, who was able to do in the splits just before Youngblood comes in and scores the goal on him. But I'm like, oh, man. But, I mean, you think about it, right? He does those splits. I mean, he's like Jonathan Quick out there. Man, he's able to get that. I mean, he's really, really good. He's really good. He's a building block, without a doubt.
I want a blood test on him. I'm not sure what sex he is with those splits. That's insane.
I don't know.
That's not possible for a man.
No. Well, hey, I could do that, Tommy. If I was in like a car accident or something, I could do that. just not by myself. I need some mechanical help.
Oh, goodness gracious, grumpy old man. I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you. It's interesting to see, though, that what happens this offseason. I mean, those are 3 big pieces. It doesn't shock me that Anthony Beauvillier was his name was passed around out there. It just tells me what I expect going to the offseason.
I just don't want to move young guys. I'm sick and tired of moving young, up-and-coming players to keep older guys on the team. I'm
How happy would you be if we go ahead and trade off a guy like Beauvillier and sign back Palmieri, Grump?
But that's going to happen. I think that's going to happen, Grump. I think Palmieri's getting re-signed. Palmieri is a Lou guy. He's totally a Lou player, 100%. We all know that he is. Okay, and Palmieri is from Long Island. He's from Smithtown. He wants to stay here. It's local to him. He doesn't have to do any crazy thing for going from New Jersey to New York with this move. He's right here. He can uproot his family a little bit. He's got family already here. He wants to stay here, guys, and he probably will give a little discount to stay here. He's going to get a 4 or 5 year deal. I'm telling you right now.
Again, another guy in his 30s to a 4 or 5 year deal. I just don't think. I just don't believe in that.
I think that's where you come from. And again, like I see a little bit what you're saying, Grum, because when is this continuing to throw good money after possible bad gonna ever end? And I'm not saying it's bad money at the time period, but I promise you, if you give another 30-year-old a 4 or 5 year deal, I don't care what type of financial wizardry you're going to do, you're going to continue to get screwed over every single time you try to offload assets. And again, you could play devil's advocate and say, well, at the trade deadline, when they have a year left on their contract, you might be able to shell them out there and get some draft capital. I'm just not sure. I would rather have the more sustainable approach. And I think Bavilier does drive lines. He's streaky as hell, but man, oh man, when he's on, he can really drive it. He can really drive a line.
You just said something right there. He's streaky as hell. If Lou hates anything, knowing Lou Lamoriello, and I've watched him since the 80s with the Devils and what he did with that team, he hates players who only show up at certain times of the year. He can't stand that. I've known that about him forever. He wants consistency.
I'm going to tell you what, TJ. That's why Lou Lamoriello likes annuities, because it's guaranteed what you're going to get. See, I'm speaking your language now, TJ.
I'm not allowed to talk finance on this podcast, so don't talk finance.
Guaranteed return. We don't care if you could potentially be great.
I'm seriously, stop. I'm not allowed to talk finance on this podcast. Anyway, moving along, Bill, man. I don't think you understand how serious that is. What a film says here. Thanks, Coach, there for wearing the Islanders sweatshirt, looking good. Shame on you, TJ and Grumpy Old Man.
Oh, what the hell?
I was about to say, Grump, you never wear any Islanders gear. I always wear my Islanders collared T-shirt if I've got it, or if I've got it out of the wash, maybe my Islanders like American little Islanders sweat or a T-shirt. But Grump, you very rarely wear Islander stuff.
I don't have a whole lot of Islander stuff. What can I tell you?
I forgot to mention this is another YouTube comment, Grumpy Old Man.
Yes, I know. And usually, What a Films is very complimentary to Grumpy Old Man. Now we're getting shamed.
I want to ask how would like my background for this show.
I was going to comment on it, but it was really a snarky comment, so I held it to myself. But it was so easy. I see the little twin bed there. I don't know. It has a basement look to it. I don't know.
No, not a basement. This is a condo on the beach, actually, here in Long Island.
Okay, see that doesn't work for my narrative, like your mom's basement. See, it doesn't work for it.
Oh, Grumpy Old Man. Oh.
You drove me to it, right? That's what happens. I wasn't going to comment. I said, no, I'm going to be cool, because whenever somebody comes on the show, I try to be nice. I really do.
I was going to tell you that with Andrea putting me in the basement, which isn't my, it's my significant. She's put me in the basement. I get in trouble a lot.
I understand. Believe me.
All he wants to know, Grumpy Old Man, was he eating mushrooms earlier? Because his thoughts must be absolutely crazy, Grumpy Old Man.
If I was eating mushrooms earlier, I'd be tripping. But the answer is no. It was a hamburger and a hot dog that was prepared on the grill by my wife. And, it was either I eat before the podcast and, even a little bit into the podcast, unfortunately, which I don't like to do because it really makes you look bad. I mean, it's a bad look. Let's be honest. But I didn't want to eat it cold either, because you ever try to reheat a burger that's been on the grill? It's like, no, it doesn't work. And the bun gets soggy. Ugh, it's just not good.
I'm a 3-bite burger type of guy. I just take one big bite. The first one is just a monstrous bite. The second, by 3 bites, I'm halfway through.
Whatever.
You can go ahead and fit the next one in for another 2, maybe 3 bites, and you're gone. Boom.
Do you ever taste your food?
Yeah, I do taste my food. Oh, yeah.
Really? I have a story where you didn't taste your food till you're 3/4 done.
Oh, goodness. Grumpy.
Yeah, we'll touch on that another day.
Oh, thanks there, Grumpy. The film said, Grumpy, you have a light that spreads sunshine, and TJ, your light focuses on the bright side of the moon. Oh, I guess because my hair. Fair enough. Fair enough there. Fair enough.
And there, see, What a Films, he's just redeemed himself.
Yeah, and he says also Grumpy looks much more colorful and happy.
I am happy. We haven't played in a couple of days. We haven't lost. Josh Bailey hasn't done anything bad to make me go crazy. So I am happy. I don't know how I'll be after tomorrow's game, though.
David C. says we lose in the first round to the Pens.
Some reason I think we're going to win division. I don't know. I just feel we are.
Wow.
I'm very proud of Grum for that. That is a positive outlook from GOM. I
It's
am very proud of you.
It's truthful. It's true. I tell people how I feel. I mean, sometimes they don't like it. Sometimes they like it. It's, hey, some days I feel great, some days not so good, but I feel we're going to win division. I just do. I don't know.
You know something? About that?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. But what you're saying right now is I think something that some Islander fans who the naysayers don't get about this team is that they really are a gutsy, together, hardworking team. And when you put them in these playoff rounds, whether it's the Pens or the Capitals or the Bruins, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at these teams. You're not going to say there was no effort here. And in these playoffs, Trotz will have these guys ready. These guys are very close in the locker room, and I never had a problem. I think Palmieri and Zajac were going to fit very well in that locker room. Okay, along with Coburn. So I don't think they brought anybody in there could mess it up, could mess any chemistry up. I think the effort's going to be there like we saw last year. So I agree with the group on this. I do think they will get through this division.
That's what I feel like too. But I think we have to win division to get through. I don't know how we would match up having to play both Washington and Pittsburgh. I think that might be a bridge too far. But I think if we get Boston in first round, I think we beat Boston. We've had the Indians sign on them all year, and you'll have Pittsburgh and Washington beat up on one another, and then we can take them. And then we got to fight the 800-pound gorilla.
Well, that would depend. I mean, what if we say we get past those 2 rounds and we end up playing the team from the Canadian division? What if we get that in the conference finals? I mean, are you really scared of any of the teams in that division? I'm honestly not. And even though I think Toronto has its best shot ever, because they're going to be playing in that division to get out of it, that gives them their best shot. That this is Tavares' chance to get a cup, and I think after that he's got none, unless they keep this division together. But I think, look, how much would the NHL love a New York Islanders, Toronto Maple Leafs conference final?
Yeah, they'd like that. Have they even determined how that's? I thought we would play Tampa next.
Seed goes by seeding. Record.
Okay. Well,
I had a comment.
I just don't want to play Tampa. Let me just put it. I don't want to play Tampa. I don't want to play.
I get it. I don't want to play Tampa either.
I had a comment. I forgot. But that being said, the lines are open, guys. Again, that 318-608-2245. If you had any comments there or questions to say there, myself, Coach Tommy Baffi, or the grumpy old man, going right back to comments. So Would Have Films saying, TJ did a hell of a job on your call-ins. Great first run. Would Have Films must have missed last week's podcast where I struggled a little bit on it.
Like I said, I beg on TJ. It's tough. It's really, really tough what he does. I mean, it's easy for me to pick on him, but he's doing everything. I mean, everything he does. Without TJ, there is no podcast. I say it often, and it doesn't make it any less true.
Well, I do appreciate it, grumpy old man. Frank K there says, if Varlamov continues with his vision issues, Sorokin continues to get better. Don't be surprised if Sorokin and the Crushin' Russian is the starter. I'm not saying it will happen, though.
Okay, I see what Frank's trying to get. He's trying to get a nickname in there. I don't even think he cared about Varlamov and his vision issues. I think that he came up with a nickname that he was hoping was going to work for Sorokin. It's close, Frank. Not close enough, though. We're going to find one.
I put it like this. I mean, there's sometimes that Sorokin, and again, I'm very high still on Sorokin. I just don't understand how he lets certain goals in. I mean, like, what was that shot there? Wrister almost from the point where he just tried to deflect it. Again, like, fluky goals happen, but Jesus, man, I just feel like there's quite a few fluky goals that get scored on Sorokin.
Well, you're talking about the first goal in the Ranger game?
Yes.
That thing was deflected by 2 different Islanders. Okay, number one, with Dobson deflecting it. And I always say this about playing defense. Noah Dobson on that play is totally out of position. He's standing directly in front of the goalie, screening his goalie from the shot from the point, and he wasn't covering anybody. There's a rule, and when I played it, let the goalie see the puck, get out of the way. Not only was he in his way, he deflected it past him.
I think it was different. Maybe it was going to get some
Grub, stop. It's a different one there. It's the one where he shot it from the point. He was standing straight up and down, tried to deflect it there with his stick arm.
That was fly. That was the Flyers game.
It was not the Rangers.
Okay, Flyers. Yeah.
I just think there's certain goals like that where I'm just like kind of left like, oh man, I think he's going to weed him out. For certain he will. But I feel more comfortable long term with a guy like Varlamov and net. I'm happy he's able to get some rest though. I mean, because during the playoffs, you don't want to be playing, musical chairs with who's your guy that you rely upon during the playoffs. And I think it's going to go primarily there on Varlamov. And if things go south quick, I mean, that's when the only time we're going to see really Sorokin.
All I'm going to say on that is Sorokin makes saves that Varlamov can't make. I'm just going to say that. He might let in a weekie every once in a while, but Varlamov's not infallible in that way. He lets in some goals that he shouldn't let in also. I think he's going to go with Varlamov, but I don't think you're going to see just one goalie throughout the playoffs. I think you're going to see maybe a 2-to-1 split. I don't think he's going to ride one guy the whole time.
I agree. I think that in this case, Trotz will go with the hot hand. He will not play around. Look, a lot of us, we know Varlamov well, and I think he's been really, really good for us. I think, honestly, he replaced Leonard and did an excellent job. And he was the biggest reason we got to the conference finals, in my opinion, Varlamov. But there are certain telltales about Varlamov. There's two. One is when that he'll give up a lot of short side goals when that angle is just a tad off, if you ever watch that. Okay, and that's when he's backing up a little too much and he loses his angle. And the other one is sometimes when guys are behind that, he will pull off that post too fast. I don't know if you've ever watched him pull off that post too fast. Those are his two telltales of when he doesn't have confidence. When Varlamov is confident, he's damn good. He's damn good.
Yeah, to me, when you see him sinking, when he's going back into that, that's when you know it's not right with him. It's real easy to tell.
Yeah.
But I just see Sorokin, his confidence getting better and better all the time.
Definitely.
I mean, like I said, worst case, and this is what you want to see, right? I'm always looking to the future. Next year, Sorokin's your number one. I mean, if he plays well enough the rest of the year, he should be the guy who gets the lion's share of the starts going forward. I just feel that way.
My prediction on what they do next year is I think Volley will play a little more than Sorokin in the first half of the season. But in the second half of the season, I think Sorokin will, as he's now got enough time here and enough time to adapt, they'll start to transition to him as the number one goalie mid-season next year. That's my prediction on Sorokin.
All right, we're going to hold you that, Tommy. We'll see what happens.
You can. That's a prediction.
All right. I won't even say that's a hot take.
What if Films also says Pajot on the first line is brilliant there. Give it Tommy B there. He's tipping the cap. Tipping the cap, absolutely.
I mean, I think he fits that line, but what does it do for the third line? That's my whole concern. It's like, I don't know.
And we also got a comment here from Scott Jersey side. He said, Tommy is the Howie Mandel of Long Island.
You know what? I remember Howie Mandel used to have that afro. Well, whatever it was. I mean, he used to have a whole lot of hair when he first came out.
Oh, my God, Howie Mandel.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. I really do.
And then Wood of Film's also saying there, Brock Nelson's a quality player. I met him, and he's better looking without a helmet.
I don't believe that. He looks like Ichabod Crane to me.
Like, what can I say? Ichabod Crane's not bad looking. Ichabod Crane was known in the cartoon. He was known to be an attractive guy. No,
did you actually look at the cartoon?
You know, I don't have Ichabod Crane like the memory and the image of like the Ichabod Crane grilled into my mind. But give me a sec, Rob. I'll pull up Ichabod Crane. Okay,
go ahead and tell me he doesn't look like Brock Nelson. Well, he is a quality player. I will say that. And I was hard. TJ was Brock Nelson's number one supporter for years and years and years. Credit due. I didn't see it. I always felt he was good at scoring goals when we were down 3 or 4. He might score 2, so we'd only lose by a couple. And Barry Trotz, his system is tailor-made for him. Without a doubt, the player who made the greatest improvement overall as a total player is Brock Nelson.
Tell me.
Right there. There he is. Right there. There's Brock Nelson. There he is.
Tell me,
Nelson and Pelech. Adam Pelech made also the greatest strides as a player under Trotz's system. Those two specific players. And I think Brock, and there are some similarities for Brock's early career to Bavillier's early career. Wasn't Nelson extremely streaky when he was first here? It was an inconsistent type of game. Trotz just leveled his game out and got him to refocus. And I think Nelson, since he's been with Trotz, has been, other than some little small spurts of bad play, has been one of our most consistent players. You know, that's where Bavillier needs to get to, in my opinion. I think Bavillier is capable of getting there. Don't get me wrong. But I think that's not uncommon for a young player.
Right, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And yeah, he was streaky when he was younger. Well, I guess the fact that, to me, I always thought he should be more. Maybe because of just of his size. He was never real aggressive in the corners. Wouldn't really I mean, I remember him getting bullied a lot as a big guy. I'm like, come on, Brock, fight back. I just, you know, hey, if you're big, use your damn size. Where Bavillier, he's going to give it. It looked like Brock was never given 100% effort all the time. That's what I'm saying. Where you can't say that about Bavillier. You just can't.
Here's another one with that since the Islanders have so much versatility with this lineup, right? They do. They have a lot of guys that can be interchangeable in a lot of positions. I mean, another thought to me could possibly be Nelson playing with Barzal, because Nelson's shot is so good. Think about Barzal setting up Brock Nelson a lot.
I just don't see him breaking up that. They like him playing against the top line as that second line. I don't see Barry doing that. There's a lot of things you could do, but I don't see him doing that.
He probably won't. I agree with you. I doubt that he would do it, but it's just something that I look at and I go, I bet you Nelson could score a ton of goals playing with Barzal.
Yeah.
Love to see if anybody, I mean, if Matt Barzal was better in the faceoff dot, I would love to see a high scoring player there, a player with a good wrister. I mean, on that line, I just imagine what they're going to do with that open space. I said it when Palmieri was traded there to the Islanders. I'd love to see him there on the first line, some capacity. And I'm not going to fault Barry for not having him on the first line right now. I mean, he's got his reasons. You know, we'll see long term how that pans out, works out for him. But I would love to see a guy with a real deadly shot there with that open space when Matt Barzal is able to draw defenders his way, what they're able to do with that open space and opportunity.
That's going to happen down the line, and I think we know what player that's going to be. They will be grooming Oliver Wahlstrom to be his first-line right winger. I promise you. That is a down-the-line thing, maybe 1 or 2 years from now, but he will be Barzal's primary winger. No doubt in my mind.
He would be a perfect complement for Barzal, without a doubt.
What a film says there. I'd call – but I'm in Canada, so it's going to cost me, LOL. So what if Film's not able to call in their grumpy old man?
We love Canada. I love Canada. It's a great country.
Patrick V says, who's going to sit there for Colburn? Or will they play 7 defensemen?
I think what it enables them to do is to rest certain guys down the stretch. That's what it enables. You sit in Andy Green for a game. You sit Mayfield for a game if he's struggling, even though he's picked it up recently. I would even sit Leddy. I mean, Leddy's had some bad games recently. He looks like he needs a little bit of rest. I don't think you need to worry about Pulak and Pelech. Dobson, I think since he's come back from COVID, hasn't been as sharp as he was previously. But I'm loath to sit him down. I just think he needs to continue playing. But that's what I think you're going to see from Coburn. And I think you should get these guys fresh for the playoffs. And I think he will be a benefit in the playoffs. Nobody stays healthy throughout the playoffs.
No. Especially the longer you go. I mean, man, oh man, you can never look at it. These guys at the end of the season, like at the Stanley Cup Finals, the injury report comes out and says, "Oh, Ryan Kesselman was playing there with a hernia and a torn groin, and oh, Alex Edler was playing a game with a broken hand." You know, you see that all the time. So,
I just want to say there's one team that didn't get any injuries in the playoffs last year because they didn't even show up. That was the Capitals.
Yes, they didn't show up.
They didn't. No one got injured there. Matter of fact, I think they healed up playing the Islanders.
Yeah, I thought the Leddy thing was a great point. His last 2 games against the Rangers, he looks exhausted. He looks tired. He might need a game or two, a break. I don't think Noah Dobson ever needs one. I want to remind people about Dobson. In juniors, that guy was playing 30 to 35 minutes a game. I don't know if anybody remembers that. That's how much hockey that they trusted that kid with. You know how hard it is to play 30 minutes a game as a defenseman? And he did it.
Yeah, and his effort level is up now from where it was in the juniors. I remember watching the Memorial Cup a couple of years, and it's like, okay, this kid could be good. I wish I'd see another gear from him. And he's always going to be a guy who seems like he's not doing a whole lot when he actually is, because he's so smooth. His transition from defense to offense, I mean, it's like 3 strides, he's at center ice, and it looks like he's not moving, but he's flying out there.
He's a top 4 pairing defenseman next season.
Yes.
100% he is.
And it's funny, too, when you think about that, a few of the characteristics you had, not all of them, because the person I'm going to mention was not a good skater. But you mentioned, he was so tactical the way he moved. You wondered if he had a second gear. He was able to keep himself in good position. Griffin Reinhart, they used to say the same exact stuff about Griffin Reinhart. Good move. We all knew that. But they always wondered, like, he's just always so tactical. He's so smart out there on the ice, so he doesn't have to exert too much energy. He's been able to be a workhorse. We heard the same exact thing about that ultimate bust. But again, no Dobson can skate.
I'm going to make an observation here. In a way, Griffin Reinhart turned out to be one of the best draft picks the Islanders ever made, because that's what got us Matt Barzal.
Yep.
And we got Bavillier, too.
That's right.
Barzal and Bavillier because of that player.
Very unheralded trade by Garth Snow.
His best one.
Yep.
So when you go ahead and release the most underrated Islanders of all times, you're going to tell me that Griffin Reinhart needs to make that list now because he brought us there the trades of Matt Barzal there and Anthony Bavillier, huh, Grump?
No, let's not.
Up.
Don't try to put words in my mouth, all right? Don't ever try to do that ever again. That's not what I said.
What if Film's got a nice comment here? He says, if the Islanders win the Cup this year, Grumpy has to wear a Josh Bailey jersey for every podcast. And I want you to wear it to where you can see Josh Bailey on the front, not just on the back. I want it to be double-sided Josh Bailey. Or you know what, Grump? I know I said I'm working on the shirts, and I am working on the shirts, but we have to make one specifically. We could just make one copy. It says Josh Bailey, and maybe it's a little equal sign, elite winger. And we'll have to have you wear that every single podcast if the Islanders win the Stanley Cup. How about that, Grump?
So hold on. So this means that Josh Bailey doesn't have to do anything and the Islanders win the Cup, because, that's what you would say, right? And that wouldn't surprise me. We win the Cup. I don't expect him to do anything. So
God. He had a good playoffs last year. Come on now. Give him credit for
that. He led us in points last year in the playoffs.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. He played well against who they play well against. He played well against Washington.
You're going to tell me Bailey didn't have a very good playoffs last year?
He was okay last year. And I don't even think I was ripping him until we got to play Tampa. Then he turned into the Josh Bailey we know and love.
No, I mean, personally, I thought Brock Nelson was the best player throughout our playoffs last year. I thought he was our number 1 player in the playoffs. That was my personal observation. I don't know if you think differently about it, but I thought Bailey had a hell of a playoffs.
That line was very good in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Without that. That line
Eberle killed it, and so did Bavillier. I mean,
in spots.
Yeah.
Bavillier was hot for a while, and then he cooled up, and that's Bavillier. And the same thing with Eberle, right? He's the same type player, very streaky. Is what it is.
I thought Bavillier had a tough Tampa series.
He's a question for you guys. Can we put Josh Hosang in our lineup? No, we're not putting Josh Hosang anytime soon. Oh, goodness gracious. I just figured we'd go ahead and bring that up, though. Yeah, we're getting a lot of those Bavillier streaky there Frank is bringing up. Yeah, for certain he is. Oh, the call deal isn't as interesting as sharing comments. Go back to comments, TJ. This is boring. Oh, the calls. No, I feel like the calls add a little something special. Oh, Phil Fax there, he tunes in. He says there, the Eberle's deal was very good as well.
Re-signing him
to the contract he's on currently.
Yeah, it was a fair deal. It was a fair contract.
Was it 5.5 or 5.5 for 5 years? But
he was 5 for 5, I believe.
Okay. Now here's the thing, though, right? Why does that work for a guy like Eberle? Because he's not a guy who takes physical punishment. He's more of a guy, he's more of a skater. Those guys age better. The guys who don't age better are the Anders Lees, the guys like that. Tom Wilson's another one. You give Tom Wilson a 7-year contract when he's 31 years old or 29 years old. That's not going to work out either. It all depends on the type of style that you play. And that was really my biggest concern with Anders Lee, is the fact that giving him a contract like that is not going to age well. Just like John Tavares' contract is not going to age well for Toronto. Just isn't.
Yeah, we got a comment here from Tom White. Now, this is a little bit of a callback to Ryan Pulak. He says there, Pulak is from my hometown. Right after getting eliminated last year, when he came home, he told me that he was re-signing and hadn't talked about the contract yet. He loves it there and will stay. The only way I see him leaving is if he decides, or if they decide not to want him.
The only thing I want to say about that comment is that it's so big that it cut out my face, and that's never for the podcast, honestly. So we can remove that. Thank you. I heard the same thing. And what does that say about the culture on the Islanders? Because to me, that's the biggest thing that people don't appreciate. And I think that really makes Islanders fans. It's like everybody is like this. Sure, they're jerk fans like Tommy Baffi. But, for most people, everybody loved the Islanders. I mean, we all love the Islanders, right? But the players are the same way. I mean, I feel there's such a tight-knit group. I always say, right, I joke that it's like the beer league because they're all friends out there. And that's the way we play sometimes. But still, I just think that camaraderie that they have breeds people to want to stay. You heard the same thing from Barzal when he signed his deal. Same exact thing. They don't want to leave. And that's different than it was in the past.
Yes, it's culture now. And I mean, as far as, we talk about the Islander fan itself, I still think there are many Islander fans that they're still naysayers. They're not yet comfortable in believing that what's going on with this team, that this team is actually a contender. You may say they're not the top Stanley Cup contender, but they are a contender. And when you're winning multiple playoff series in a year, that makes you a contender. I still think the Islander fan is programmed to think what's going to go wrong next. It's 25 years of abuse. It's going to take 5 to 6 years of success to beat that out of most of these fans. But what I've always said about Islander fans is this. We might not be the biggest fan base, but we are the most enthusiastic fan base.
Most
passionate. We get into that old barn, nobody is louder than we are. Nobody.
Yes, very true.
We have a quick comment here. Just Matthew there S saying, Grumpy Man, what soccer jersey is that? That is Real Madrid. I'll answer that. And we have a question that I think is a philosophical question.
Oh, I love these.
Scott there from Jersey side says Belmont will attract more free agents to the Islanders. Now, for the longest time, Islander fans have heard the reason why the big free agents don't want to come and play is because it's because of the arena. You know what I mean? They just didn't have it. They didn't match up there. And again, everybody's always thought that this is the last piece of the puzzle. I mean, I'll let Tommy take a crack at this first, Crump, and then we'll go to you there.
All right, Tommy.
I'll give you two responses to what he's saying about this statement. Yes, it will. Maybe not as much as you think, though. But it is going to be a more desirable place to play. When you have an updated, state-of-the-art corporate arena, you're going to have more players that want to come there. That's just 100% fact. We've seen that happen all over the place with teams opening up new arenas. And the second part is that this does give the Islanders finally, financially, just like them getting a $400 million naming rights for the arena, from a Swiss bank. It finally gives the Islanders a positive money flow that they're going to be able to compete better. And I had touched on this when we were kind of having a powwow yesterday, that I've always felt the Islanders have gotten the short end of the stick on calls from officials. And I've always said the biggest reason I believe is because they're always losing $20 million a year. That's going to stop when they get the UBS and Belmont. They're going to be a cash cow for the NHL, and they'll be treated differently.
Interesting take. I hadn't thought about that. I think the thing that most players want is financial stability first. I mean, I think I love when they say, oh, he'll never go there because the coach is crappy or this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, maybe it depends on the contract or how old you are. But, the amount of time that players have to earn money is finite. And if everything being equal, they're going to take the most money. Everything being equal. I don't know how Belmont, I think it will help in some regards. I think the culture helps also. But if you're an offensive player, are you going to want to sign with the Islanders if you could play the same style? Like, let's say Colorado, if you're an offensive player, would you rather sign with Colorado or with the Islanders? You probably want to sign with Colorado if you're an offensive player. I mean, so you can have more freedom to your game. I'm just throwing a scenario out there.
That makes sense.
I think a lot of things come into focus, but I think money is the most important thing, and I don't blame the players at all. That's why when guys leave free agency, no problem at all. You earn that right. It's not like the 1970s. Hey, TJ, I'm going to tell you, I remember waking up reading the daily news during the winter the winter meetings for baseball, and seeing a big 4 or 5 team trade. That was so exciting for me. There was no internet. They didn't have ESPN. It's like you had to read the newspaper next day to see a massive trade, and it was the greatest thing ever. That's the only way there was movement in sports teams, was through trades. Players had no rights. Now they do, and they use them, and good for them.
Oh, grumpy old man. I'm sure it was a much simpler time. No internet to go ahead.
Much simpler time.
Much simpler time, Grump. I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, keep it simple for the grumpy old man.
He had a wagon with wooden wheels back then. Come on.
That's right. And they weren't even rounded yet. They didn't even invent the wheel yet.
Brian B says, I like Pajot on the first line. Palmieri on the second, I think, is worth a look. Definitely. Great show again tonight, guys. Do appreciate it there, Brian B. Grumpy old man. What do you always say about Brian B?
He's my brother from another mother.
He's my brother from another mother, as Grump always says it there. Yeah, I'll tell you, though. I'm just not sure about the arena. And again, I wonder if it's just because during my time period, I've never seen, the Islanders been a place there where it's like a free agent destination. And I'm not sure, just maybe because it's not a huge market. I know that the arena, hey, we're going to be cash flow positive. They're awesome. We're going to be making the league money. Awesome. Maybe we'll start getting some calls. Awesome. When I think about it, though, I'm just not sure if we're ever going to be able to compete when it comes to free agent destinations with the Rangers. Let's say, if we have, let's say we're playing a scenario. You go ahead and kick the clock back to when Panarin was a free agent and UBS is open. It's running. Everything's going great. Where do you think he signs? And again, I know rumors are no matter what, he was going to go play because he wanted to play in Madison Square Garden. His wife or fiance likes the high fashion and lifestyle there in the city. I mean, do you think we really do compare when it comes to free agent destinations with the Rangers?
I say we go to Conspiracy Theory TV and see what he has to say about that.
Oh, stop.
Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to give you a little Panarin story here, but I'm going to also say something here. When you want to talk about worrying about what's going to happen with the arena, right now, currently, the Islanders have 6,000 season ticket holders at Nassau Coliseum. Okay, that's the figure. They already have 11 at UBS. Already have 11. That should kind of give you an understanding of the impact of the new arena. And that's all obviously at higher prices, and they have more suites, and the seats are more expensive downstairs and the whole routine. So I think that so far they're passing that test. But as far as Panarin, a lot of people in the Drive for Five, and I'll mention the Drive for Five, know this story because I was one that had posted, that Panarin had agreed to terms with the New York Islanders. And the story behind that is really very simple, that if you know the Dolans, okay, and Jimmy Dolan owns both the Knicks and the Rangers. And ironically, at that time, there were two big free agents both ways. There was Kevin Durant going at that time, who the Knicks were going after. And James Dolan has always put the Knicks above the Rangers, for you all to know that in his ownership. He loves his Knicks. Okay, and he was being focused on going after Kevin Durant. He was not focused on Panarin. The Rangers contract that they had on the deal for Panarin was 3 years. That was the term they had offered him. The Islanders believed they had him. They offered over $12 million a year for Panarin for 7 years. Panarin agreed to that deal with the Islanders. That is fact. Okay, and what happened was he lost Kevin Durant to the Brooklyn Nets. And for Dolan, he could not stand the thought of losing Durant to the Nets and then losing Panarin to the Islanders and being in Manhattan. And it would think about how that would have made him look in the papers and all that stuff. He literally signed Panarin to get a back page that was a positive back page. That was the reason he did it. He did it at the last hour. Panarin was on his way to the Islanders, and we lost him because of that. We lost him because of Kevin Durant.
See, that's painful. I did hear that. I did talk. That's why I gave it to Tommy, because I knew he had that.
I was about to say, I'm like, grumpy old man. The fact that you were on with that's a conspiracy theory if I've ever heard one there, Tommy. I mean, like, it's true. It may be true completely, but I mean, that's something that has never passed my lexicon of thought. And grumpy old man throws that there. Okay, so Grump knew that was where you were going with that. When he said that originally, I'm like, come on, Grump, go ahead and show Coach Tommy Baffi a little love. Come on now.
Thank you for that, Grump. I appreciate that.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's the Tommy Baffi segment, Conspiracy Theory TV. I go right there.
You got to go ahead and get the rights. Scott Levy there says Brock is tall and lanky and get blown over by the wind.
And the worst thing is, he has to watch out for those flaming pumpkin heads getting thrown at him too. So he's got a lot of things he's got to deal with.
Ichabod Crane, I'll tell you.
He does look like Ichabod Crane.
Oh.
Come on, he does. But he'll always be my beloved Croc Nelson to me. So.
Oh goodness gracious, I'll tell you. Oh. Jesus, damn.
TJ, you have a Brock Nelson jersey?
I don't have anybody's jersey. I never had we're talking even way far back. I've never had anybody like on the back of the jerseys or anything like that. I've also never been a big jersey hockey. People wear hockey jerseys, and it's funny, right? I see them like walk around. I'm like, where I am in the middle of the country, there is nobody who's a hockey fan towards me. And you see somebody wearing a hockey jersey. It's like seeing somebody wearing like a neon green soccer jersey like Grump's wearing right there. And I can't help but think to myself, I'm like, oh, wow, maybe this is a fellow fan. This is a fellow fan with me. And I'm like, oh, you're a fan of, the Fire. Oh, no, I just wear it because it looks cool. I'm like, fair enough. I always get hot and sweaty when I'm wearing like a hockey jersey. So I've never been like a big like jersey guy. Like I'll wear them in the actual arena, but that's few and far between where I go, oh, Grump, did I bore you to death?
FYI, yeah, you did. FYI, this is not a neon green; it's mint green. But thanks for playing.
Yeah, I did want to
don't ask you questions, DJ. There's a reason why we don't ask you questions.
I did want to make a proposal to you two gentlemen, because with the group that we have at the Drive at 5, and we do a lot of different things. You guys know we do our viewing parties and our tailgates, which our tailgates are an annual tradition, which have been kind of cut off for a while due to the pandemic. So we're finally having our first tailgate on April 24th for the Capitals game. We're excited about doing that. Before the pandemic, we were doing a lot of road trips. So I want to make a proposal to you too, that if we had done one for the Carolina playoffs, and we went to Carolina and had a huge tailgate. Ledecky actually came. Brendan Burke came. If we go back to Carolina, I'd like you two to come visit and join us for that.
Absolutely.
I'll make it out there for certain. Oh, Grump, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I already made you a guest appearance there. Mikey Ryan, they're doing something, a meetup. I said you'd be there. I think May 1st. So I don't know if I told you that, but no time like the present to let you know. You have something to do with Mikey there from the Bar Down Breakdown and the creator there, the Islanders meetup group. He said he wants Grumpy Old Man there. I said, yeah, I'm sure Grump can make it. No idea knowing if you could or couldn't, but I just assumed, Grumpy, you're usually glued to the couch. So I feel like, hey, we could glue you somewhere else.
Really? You want to go glued to the couch, do you? Fine.
It was easy. I'm sorry, Grump. It was easy. We got a comment here from David C. also saying the Islanders signed left wing there, Colin Adams, to a 2-year entry-level contract there. Was drafted in 2016. Yeah, I did see that 2-year, two-way deal.
Yes.
Man, can't say really I paid too much attention. He played well. What was it for? Was he playing for North Dakota?
North Dakota, and I think he had 33 points in 29 games. He actually had some very nice numbers. Small guy, but really stocky and a real bulldog type of a player. Look, it's still a crapshoot whether he's going to become an NHL caliber player, but I actually think he's a pretty good prospect. I really do. I like this kid.
I will say one thing. I've talked about him. I was bullish on him. I guess you could say 2 years ago. Bullish. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Otto Koivula. I wonder if he's ever going to get his shot there in the NHL. I mean, like, you'd like to see, preferably, he's a bottom 6 guy, but I just don't think he's ever going to get the shot.
Maybe not with us. Maybe with somebody like Seattle, he might. That's another guy they can use possibly to offset a contract, with a young upper team, Kraken team. That's something I thought about with Otto. I wanted to make, though, my comment of the night, because I watch this guys show a lot. I really enjoy it. And I have now decided that Grumpy on that couch, it's very comparable to Al Bundy on his couch. They're now the two most famous couches in the world.
My hands are not in my pants, though. Okay, so don't let's not go that far.
Oh, goodness gracious. Al Bundy, not a throwback. Oh my God, I like it.
Al Bundy was great. I mean, think about Ed O'Neill's career, right? He goes from Al Bundy to Modern Family. I mean, think about that. That's like 25 years of television right there. I mean, how great was that?
It was awesome.
And the second show, he got the hotter wife in the second show.
Not Peg. Anyway, comment here from David K saying, yes, nothing louder than the Coliseum. I remember when they originally created UBS there, they wanted to have it where it still had that Coliseum-esque type of feel, where they wanted to make sure it was as low as they could possibly have it. So when the fans are yelling and chanting, it makes sure it makes it down there on the ice, and it's ringing in the players' ears.
Yeah, there's something special about the Coliseum, though. The jam concourses, the leaky bathrooms. I mean, hey, that's home.
Well, Tom mentions an interesting point too. State tax structure plays into players' decisions also. I remember people always bring this up too whenever any, I won't call him big player, but anytime someone signs there in Florida, like no state tax obviously has something to do there with that. It's always something funny to think back. I mean, the Islanders are never going to get on the luck on that side of the draw, but still, I mean, it's something that doesn't really go into much consideration because, I mean, hell, you could sign a less expensive deal there in a place in Florida, obviously make more after tax than if you were in New York. Unfortunately, the way it is.
Yeah, that, and you got Tom Brady playing quarterback for the Buccaneers. Who wouldn't want to play with a winner? And then to get more money. Hey, I'll take a little bit on the front end. We'll be a better team, but I'm making the same money because I'm not signing a big tax state.
That is my biggest complaint, by the way, about the CBA. The CBA should be structured around that. So teams that have that advantage should not get that advantage. The Islanders should be able to spend more money than Tampa because Tampa has the no tax rule. And that allows you to offset the tax structure to allow players' contracts to be equal.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know.
Scott brings up a really interesting point here. He says, will the UBS Arena have sections dedicated to Bill Torrey, Al Leiber, and Charles Wang?
It's Wang, not Wang.
Sorry, grumpy old man. Go ahead and keep correcting.
You know what? Honestly, I don't think that's a bad idea.
I would love it. I'd love that if they would pay homage there to like some of the members of the Islanders Mount Rushmore there and have like certain sections. That would be so cool. I think that would be if Islanders media or if Islanders if their arena, what the hell would they call that? I don't know.
Okay, here's the thing. Look at the Mets, right? They have Citi Field, right? Who's in the rotunda in Citi Field? Do you know?
I know some of them that are in there, but it's actually Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson never even played for the freaking Mets.
I know. I always laugh at that. I kind of make fun of that. They have a player that never played for them.
When you think Mets, it's Tom Seaver.
Of course.
Seaver is Mr. Met, the franchise. That was his nickname, was the franchise. I never understood that. Now, here's the thing. I'd love to see that. But the sections, and I like who Scott picked. Bill Torrey, fantastic general manager, one of the greatest ever. Al Arbor, one of the greatest coaches ever. And Charles Wang saved the Islanders from leaving Long Island. You can say whatever you want for him being cheap, which, yes, he was, and whatever. And he hired Mike Milbury and Garth Snow. And Neil Smith was smart enough to get out after 40 days and 40 nights. But think about it. Without him, there are no New York Islanders. So I like the way he thinks.
He's missing one, though. He's missing one.
Who?
How great would it be to have the grumpy old man and a replica couch section with the New York Islanders?
That would be like in the Smithsonian.
Well, here's the thing, too. Okay, I found the word I was looking for, or the phrase I was looking for there. Stadium relations or something like that. I don't know, media relations. They need to have someone thinking. I think that's a real cool way to go ahead and do it. And I wonder if that's even crossed a mind.
I don't think they have the minds that could do that.
Obviously, I'm not saying rename
They
the
should
section.
contact the grumpy old man if they want to think outside the box a little bit.
You said what?
They should contact the grumpy old man if they want to think outside the box a little bit.
Or Scott. I'm not going to lie. That's a good idea. You might be on to something there. Frank K.
Hey, let's meet up in the Tory section. Let's go to the Arbor section. Let's go to the Wong section.
I mean, you'd have to really know the area pretty well to know the exact sections. And again, like it's not something you're going to learn overnight, but I think it's pretty cool. I mean, like you can't, that's what I said, you can't rename the sections, but I mean, they still need to have the number, but like still like associate like, oh, you're part of like the Arbor. Yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. That's all. Frank K says the Rangers are in New York City. Attractive life. 9 out of 10 will choose urban over suburban. See, like that's the thing too. I'm just like I've never been a good guy as like a city guy, but I mean, like, oh man, I just always wonder if that's gonna always be, we're always gonna play, second fiddle in the opinions of a general hockey fan to the Rangers.
Frankie,
I am sick and tired of Islander fans and in general considering themselves subservient to the Rangers. I never think that.
no.
So many people do. They look at themselves as second-class citizens. You want to know what? It's a perpetuating myth. The more you keep talking about it and saying it, you're just feeding into it. I've never thought the Islanders were ever inferior to the Rangers, ever.
Now, first of all, we got equal amount of cups, and they've been here for centuries. Okay, so we've been here since '72. So I'd say we kind of have it over them a little bit in that area. We've won more than they have. Sorry, but we have. And Frankie, you live in New York just like I do. How attractive is New York City right now? Because it isn't very attractive right now.
But the thing is, I mean, like, I love to think about it. A lot of those, I understand where he's coming from. A lot of those younger professionals there and younger players want to go ahead and have like the city lifestyle. I understand it. It's just never been something that's appealed there to me. But I mean, like I like your little face down there.
Way to ride that fence, TJ. Get real good at it. Don't take a stand on anything.
I'll play devil's advocate. Come on now. I'll do that. So, Grump, now you said you don't have the inferiority complex to the Rangers. Now, do you start the chants at all the games if you know your Rangers suck? Clap your hands when we're playing.
I don't do any of that.
Playing to some team.
You know what else I don't do? I don't do yes, 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 yes. I do not do that. Anything that you have to steal from a wrestler is not something to be proud of.
But who has the real inferiority complex here? The team that's been chanting the same guy's name since the 80s and 70s. These guys have been retired since '88, and they still do Potvin sucks chants.
I love it. I love it.
Not a complex.
To me, as an Islander fan, I love that.
So do I. It's pathetic.
Potvin is still in your head. I love
Yep.
it. I love it. I love it. Every time I hear it, I love it. And guess what? Dennis loves it too. Oh my God.
Potvin always said that only great players get booed.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Sal P comes up though, very, very, very consistent here. Says the best way to attract free agents for the Islanders is to build a perennial winner. First and foremost, guys want to win. For certain, they do. I was just wondering when you're on the cusp and you haven't won yet, and you're like, okay, we're ready to take the next step.
I call that the Tom Brady effect. Thank you.
The Tom Brady effect.
Take less to go somewhere to be with the winner. 100% agree.
David W. says there, Belmont will be our home sweet home. Can't wait to see what the future will look like. Let's go Islanders.
I'm just looking at the picture and I'm confused. I'll just leave it. I don't get it.
Okay, we're scrolling right.
I love to look at the pictures, Tommy. I love to look at the pictures of the people. I see good-looking girls with not so good-looking guys. I'm like, yeah, I'll kick your coverage. I see cute kids. It's like, hey, okay, fantastic. I love looking at the pictures. I don't have any social media presence, so it's nice for me to live through vicariously through other people's pictures.
Oh, goodness gracious. And Brian G says the barn is insane. I hope that, I still think there's going to be that same crazy atmosphere like that too in UBS. And I hope that's the case too going forward.
Weeding, I just swear if we were a little bit more entertaining, imagine how exciting it would be.
Now, here's a question as old as time, and this Tommy's going to you right off the bat. Jerry Springer has sent me the question he wants me to ask, or maybe it's Jerry Springer or Mike M. I can't remember. I get everything confused. I must apologize. I'm not giving credit. I'm sure to the right person. People want to bring the Ice Girls back. Tommy B. It's a controversial one for sure. Coach Tommy B. Ice Girls, yay or nay?
That's a yay. It's a big yay. That was a popular thing. All right, they added entertainment in between periods, and honestly, on stoppages. I never saw a problem with it. If and they're not being forced to do that. If they have an opportunity like that and they want to do it, give them their opportunity. Aren't we the land of opportunity?
Grump, I'll let you go ahead.
Oh, you're going to let me touch this subject? Usually,
Yeah.
No, you know what? Correction.
Grump,
Grump, we've given you your privilege. Let me go ahead and just hit the mute button on Grump. We're not letting Grump answer this question.
Yeah. Okay. So they skate some hot girls out there during intermissions. You know what? That's what people want to see, right? I mean, think about it. Cheerleaders. Why are cheerleaders out there? Do you care if they can do a dance routine? No. Why are cheerleaders there? To keep the fans entertained during crappy parts of a game. That's why.
I'll tell you this much. I never really paid attention. Like, even like when there was like those intermission breaks, it was like, okay, now I could just stop focusing. And the same thing with football. I never paid attention. And it's just a non-starter. I don't care if they're there or not because I don't pay attention to them.
Okay, let's be honest, right? Sports is mostly a male thing, right? For the most part. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to appeal to the males in your crowd. It's a smart marketing thing. So you're going to put out pretty girls. That's what you're going to do. I mean, it is what it is. The fact they took it away, I don't. What was the reason? Because it was something. I'm sure it was something politically incorrect or correct.
And there's nothing wrong with it. As I said, you're not forcing anybody to do it. You're giving it's entertainment, and the ladies who do it, they're doing it under their free will.
So, Tommy, you're saying you would be against this if they had chains on them when they were out there cleaning that up, but otherwise they're cool with it. I am.
I'm a yay on this, by the way, 100% yay. I thought those girls. They were very. If you ever met them, they were very nice girls, and they were very popular. And I'm sure they miss it.
Well, the weird thing is too, like, it's not just like there's no ice girls ever. Like, I remember like the Charlotte Checkers, they have the ice girls. There are always ice girls. It depends on like what level you are, where you are. There's a lot of ice girls, a lot of teams that don't do them. I'm indifferent towards it. I know like it divides up the fan base. Some people say, yes, we need to bring back the ice girls. Some people say no. I'm just like, Grump, I'm sure you're going to be shocked with this answer. I'm indifferent. I don't care if they're there or not.
Like I said, Felix, the fence rider, he rides again.
He definitely decided to sidestep that question.
There's no question that you can't ask me that I will not answer. You might not like the answer, but I will answer the question.
No, TJ, my girlfriend is watching this show right now, and I answered that question.
Oh yeah. It's like I don't know. I just never like paid much attention to it. It's just one of those things where I don't care if they're there or not. I honestly, if they could bring something funny, but like the thing is, if you bring something funny, it's going to be cheesy funny. You're not going to want it. It's going to make you cringe. So it's just like, I'd rather sit there and nothing. Just clean the ice and just in and out.
Another take I have is that if they were never there in the first place, then I'd probably think differently. But they became part of what the Islanders were for quite some time. So once they became, sort of a ritual or sort of a regular thing we had at games, then now you take it away for some stupid reason. I'm sorry. They were part of the Islanders, so I didn't think it was fair they took them away.
So they were a fixture is the word that you were looking for.
Yeah, they were a fixture. Yes, thank you.
So now what did they do? Since they don't have the ice girls, what did they do now? Did they just let the ice pile up, or what did they do?
No, they have people out there that do it. A lot of them are men.
Who the hell wants to see that?
With these giant shovels.
The ice no shovels. They're great. Good job, Ledecky.
The ice girls have been gone for before Ledecky was here, Grump. The ice girls have been gone for a while, haven't they, Tommy?
They were taken when they moved to Barclays.
Yeah, they've been gone for a while, Grumpy.
Maybe they couldn't find hot chicks in Brooklyn.
I will tell you one thing. I do find it interesting. Vegas does theirs, and they have this guy. I mean, like Vegas does it where they load out like 1 million people at once. And again, I don't really care. I don't pay much attention to it, but I saw it on social media. And they load out 1 million people, and they have this one guy who's like skating unbelievably hard and doing a whole bunch of stuff to remove the ice. And they highlight and pan over him. Like those type of things are kind of cool. I don't know. I feel like it's. I don't know. You gotta.
Always a show in Vegas. It's always a show in Vegas.
That's right. Yes. There's always a show in Vegas. I was about to say, I don't dislike watching that. Again, I don't really, it's a non-starter. I don't really care about watching that stuff, but it was kind of interesting to watch.
I'll watch the scantily clad girls. Thank you.
Oh,
And I don't want to focus on some big Broadway production in between, timeout, TV timeouts. Just enough to keep my focus.
the grumpy. You got you focus. You lose focus easy. Oh goodness.
You can't make the intermission more important than the game.
You know what I actually miss from Islander intermissions, if we're going to talk a little bit about the old days. When I used to go and I had season tickets forever, they would have that competition where you'd have to take a shot from the red line, and they would have the full board up.
Yes.
Okay, and you had to basically fit the puck length in between that thing. And that was something that everybody loved. And we had pools and stuff in the stands on that thing about if somebody would hit or not. And you would only get hit like once or twice a season. That I thought was the best tradition they had, and they took it away.
You want to know why people love that? Because it's just an average guy comes out of the stand and has a chance to win whatever it was, $1,000, whatever it was. And it's so exciting because guess what? You come to the next thing, it could be you. Yeah. And those things are just so exciting. I mean, you don't need anything fancy, just something small, like the Ice Girls.
It's like the same thing where you say.
Now you get me wanting to have the Ice Girls back. I hadn't even thought about the Ice Girls anymore. Now I want them.
Trust me, I hadn't thought about the Ice Girls in years, nor has it even been something I really think too much about. But I can't remember who mentioned it. It was either Jerry or Mike. Again, I don't remember exactly who, but they said we got to talk about this there on the podcast. So
it's a good subject.
Yeah, absolutely. Grump, Tommy B, Coach Tommy B. We're about at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Wrapping things up. It doesn't feel like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
No more comments for rating the grumpy old man today, or what?
There were comments that I was showing unfair favoritism to the YouTube comments. I was like, oh, man, there's so many comments. I was just trying to siphon through. And because I'm like, I can't run through all the comments like I usually do. I'm like, we have way too many talking points today, and we got a guest on. So we were just able to choose some of them. That being said, I know we're about at 2 hours and 20 minutes. I don't want to keep you guys forever. I want to hear some closing statements, closing thoughts.
Go ahead.
I think the Islanders will finish here this season. We got Tommy Baffi. Okay. Tommy Baffi, I want to ask you first. How do you think things end there for the Islanders this year?
Okay. I'm pretty confident in this team. Obviously, we don't know over the last 14 games what's going to transpire with them getting this new chemistry with all these new players. We don't know if another big injury is going to happen. Those are things we cannot predict. Okay, but I happen to think this team now can roll 4 very strong lines. I think they can – that the defense, especially with Pelech and Pulak, who I think is the best defensive tandem in the NHL from a defensive standpoint. And we have 2 goalies that I am very comfortable in putting them in big spots. I'm already comfortable with Sorokin in a big spot. I think this team – is going to finish either first or second as far as the regular season is concerned. And as I said to you earlier, I think they will definitely get out of this division. And honestly, I feel if they play anybody but Tampa Bay in the conference finals, they will go to the Stanley Cup finals. That is what I feel is going to end up transpiring with this team. I think this team can win a cup. I think they can win the cup if somebody gets rid of Tampa Bay first. I think we can win the cup. And I wanted to say one thing about the show, TJ. First off, I thank you guys so much for having me on. This was an honor. I had a great time tonight. And I wanted to give you an idea for when they call in with your phone ring. You should use the Islander goal horn. Use the Islander goal horn as your click for the phone.
Oh, God. I can't even tell you. Number one, thank you. We appreciate you coming on the show, Coach Tommy B. I'll tell you, it's going to have. I'm going to have to rely upon Paige. You're going to do. I'm kissing up there, Grump. Thanks. I have to rely on Paige. She does a lot of that stuff where it comes to like the iPhones and like the technology on the phones not bleeding through the computer. I'm tech-tarded when it comes to that. So I'm going to have to rely upon somebody else. But that is a good idea. I think that's something definitely we can go with. So Grump, I want to hear also predictions here by the end of the season.
I think we win division and we get to the semifinals. It depends on who we play. I think with the system we play, it's all going to come down, like Tommy said, to chemistry with the 2 new guys. If they gel and mesh, we have the winger that can score. And I'm not going to rip Anders Lee, but I think he brings more elements to his game than Anders Lee does in Kyle Palmieri. I will say that. And I think that makes us a better team in the long run, tougher to defend. And like I said, I just don't want to play Tampa. And those Western teams are freaking tough too. I'm gonna tell you what, they're really good too. But I thought we would have to play Tampa. I don't know why I was thinking that. Probably because I wasn't thinking, as usual. But like I said, I just don't want to play Tampa. I'm scared of them. But if somebody else could somehow beat Tampa, or I don't know, maybe their plane crashes on the way somewhere, maybe we got a shot. But other than that, it's going to be Tampa.
Oh, goodness.
But I want to say thanks to Tommy for coming on. And I also, TJ, wanted to mention, I know we haven't mentioned here on the podcast, but we're going to be doing an NFL draft special.
Oh, yeah. Something else. That's a lot of work on me. So don't
worry. I have all the information right here in the head. Got it all.
I'll watch that. That'd be great.
That's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
As the team comes up, we're going to have fun things about, say, every team. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's another side project we're working on. We'll save it there for another day. We're at the end here. There was one comment that I think is perfect to end this on. Joe Fitzpatrick says, between periods, I'm concentrated on taking away and getting another beer, not the ice girl. If there's a man who's got his priority rights, it's Joe right here.
Maybe if Joe slowed his roll with, here we go, Lou. He's like Lou on the landline. He's probably calling it. Maybe if Joe, my wife knows she is supposed to pick up the phone when it rings during the podcast. All right, better job. Maybe if he didn't drink so much beer, he wouldn't have to rush to take the whiz as opposed to watching what's going on in the ice. Just a suggestion.
Even with the limited capacity, I cannot remember Jason Hoffman. He made sure to post and tag me. And there's still a line for the men's bathroom, even with the limited capacity there in the Coliseum. And I just could not help but laugh at it there. I'm like, oh man, there's still a line at the bathroom.
That's the only time that there's a line at the men's room and not at the women's room is you go to a sporting event.
Oh, good.
That's true. And that was the best analogy of the night. I'm giving that to Fitzpatrick. That was a great analogy.
Those are the type of people we have here.
Thinkers, the pontificators. Well, I do appreciate both of you guys for coming on again. Coach Tommy B, thank you so much for joining us. We wanted to get you there in the off season. We had some tech issues, but we finally got you here. And again, I'd love to have you back on. Again, always a welcome guest to have back on. There's so much knowledge behind the scenes that Coach Tommy B is privy to that would blow your mind. That's all I'm going to say.
It's nice to have Tommy, who actually has some insight, as opposed to me just ranting on what's happening just by what I can see. It's nice to have somebody who actually has some facts to back up everything that I see. So it's great. Just Tuesday night again.
I had a great time, guys. You guys are great to do a show with. And I would definitely love to come back. This was a lot of fun. I would definitely sit here and rant with you and all the great people that come here and watch the show and the amazing comments that you get up there and some pretty good callers today too.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you everybody who does watch the live stream and listen to the podcast. It means the world to myself, the grumpy old man. I know Coach Tommy Baffi. We get to interact there with people who like to listen there and like to talk Islanders hockey. But thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Grumpy Old Man, and thank you, Coach Tommy B.